Dexter.
That's very true.
This is the
Absolutely, yes.
first time. How about
Hi,
that?
everybody. As you can imagine, we're just having a few technical glitches. Steph is restarting her brand new computer, and Jeff's just a little bit behind the drag curve because I think he's only just dashed in.
Nice. How's everybody doing? Who we got here? Greg
There's a
is
good
there.
collection tonight.
I know. Lance Masha is there. Hey, Masha. I haul boxes. I like that one. I do too.
Now,
here.
my video has been nice and stable. Oh, Steph needs a new login code. As soon as we go live, it starts flickering again. I don't know what's wrong with it.
My something happened to me too. I couldn't. My login code expired for some reason. I had the login cached in the browser here, and then I go to log in, and it expired.
Huh, how weird is that?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to play with my green screen a bit here.
I was going to ask you about those patches back there. Look really nice. What you got there? You got
those. I'm just messing about with them. Oh, they're just a collection from off my Aussie flying suit. That one.
Very nice.
Although that the set of silver wings are rather special because the Aussie Air Force have these sterling silver wings, which they wear when they're in shirt sleeves order. So you normally only get your wings on a jacket, but they have wings on their shirts, and they're just like a brooch, so you can just pin them on your shirt. And I admired them very much. And they said, well, you know, the Kiwis have the same deal.
Yeah.
But their wings aren't nearly as nice. They're not silver. They're just silvery, made of base metal. So what they do is they buy wings when they're visiting Australia, and they get a jeweler to change the letters on the inside from RAAF to RZ, Royal New Zealand, RNZAF.
Yep.
And they said, well, you could probably do the same problem. You could get RAAF changed into RAF. So I did. And the guy, he only charged me, $20. I thought it was a really inexpensive deal to change the wings. So now I have it as not that I ever wear it unless I'm in a blazer or attending some kind of a Air Force do, but it's rather nice to have.
No, come on, just tell the truth, Nick. You wear them everywhere.
Yeah. I have them on the front of my underpants, but don't
exactly right. Yeah, you go everywhere with them.
Exactly right. And then the Aussies had these metal dog tags, whereas the Royal Air Force still had the old World War II style ones. You had a green one,
round ones, right?
Yeah, you had a green one and a red one, and one was fireproof and one was waterproof. Would survive in immersion in water. So they could, in theory, always tell who you were.
Right.
Whether you've been burnt to death
or drowned. A little morbid, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, dear. Gotta laugh.
Greg says, Rick, I'd be interested to hear your take on the FedEx emergency landing at LAX. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But they handled it. They handled it beautifully.
Well, from where I saw it was smack on the center line still, wasn't it? That was a great job.
Done. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, because we had a similar event early on in my career, and the guy that was flying it, the captain, was at the time the British aerobatics champion, flying a Yak something or other, and they had a main gear and a 340 that was stuck.
I remember seeing that actually on the news when it happened.
And he did a good job, of course, because everyone was safe, and they got the airplane back in the air within 2 or 3 weeks. But actually, he said that he found it quite hard to control the airplane, and in the flare and the subsequent rollout, he managed to dink 2 engines, the 1 and the number 4, and they needed engine changes. So that was the expensive bit.
So he dinged 1 and 4?
Yeah, first to be over controlled to keep the gear up, because as the aircraft started to settle, he rolled a bit too far away from the missing gear. So he went a bit right wing down.
That's interesting you say that, because that's I mean, obviously, everybody here knows I've never flown an Airbus, but isn't a sight stick deflection translated by the fly-by-wire system as a roll rate versus an actual angular deflection of the aileron itself?
Not once you've commenced flare and in ground
at
roll.
50 feet you go to direct low.
Exactly, it goes to direct low. So it's just like any other plane from there onwards.
You're right. I forgot about that.
So yeah, so we over control a tiny bit initially to the right and then a bit to the left.
Okay.
So, but it's a good job regardless, I think.
And
here he is.
There he is. Look at that fresh haircut.
And the whole team's here.
And there's Steph.
Hello.
Not doing the right thing. Of course it's not.
So unusual.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
I never have trouble with.
I can see why you invested in this new computer. It's
to be fair, the new
really
computer
brilliant.
is a significant improvement over the.
I like it how Jeff has a green screen of a green screen behind him. It's great.
He does, yeah. No, you really have me fooled with that background, Jeff. It looks just like a green screen.
It's exactly like a green screen.
Very authentic.
I could turn the green screen on and we can see all the flashing ensue. How would you like?
I don't know. I'm getting plenty of flashing in my own, thanks.
Yeah.
It's starting to calm down. I notice it gets better as time goes on, the flashing. It's down to one every... Oh, where's he gone? Two could play at that.
All right. Jeez. You look so happy.
What's the matter, Jeff?
Nothing. Everything's fine. Look, it's fine. We're all good here.
Yeah, good. I told you it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, leave me alone.
Will you stop asking? It's just fine.
Oh man!
Excellent.
There we go. Let's see what happens. Oh, look at my hair is disappearing into the logo.
I think it looks very natty. I'm going to try just changing the background here. Try and get rid of that.
Let's see. I do need to adjust that for sure. Do not like that.
Let's go to Hong Kong and see if that helps.
Yes. Because that's the only way I'm going back there, because I'm not going back there anytime soon.
Not fond memories?
No. See, we're not even overnight there anymore.
Really?
Nope.
Why not?
Because they want to quarantine you for 14 days, even flight crews.
Oh, even so you get no exemption. No exemption for you.
No soup for you.
No soup for you.
Does it sound like my audio is coming through my microphone here?
Tap it.
Nope.
Sounds like it's coming through your computer.
Oh, Microsoft Word needs to be updated.
Oh, you put that piece of trash program on your Macintosh?
No, it's actually.
Then how? Then why does it think it needs to be?
That's a long story.
Okay. I know what that means. Just shut up, Jeff.
Why?
Oh, no, wrong.
Shut up, Jeff.
Let's see. Oh, see you, Steph.
That computer's going really well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she has that.
There she is.
You had your PA look. Rick, did you see our cover art for the last show?
No, I haven't.
Let
me see.
You should take a look. We had fun with that one.
Mm-hmm. Does that sound better on my audio?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why that happens sometimes. Actually, I think what screwed up my computer this time around was Zoom. I was on a Zoom meeting 2 days ago, yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, if you use different services, then they kind of
But when I logged back onto the computer, it was like stuff from that Zoom meeting was still up somehow.
Oh,
I don't know. It was really weird.
It's an
and everything
evil
was
application.
frozen.
People have complained. I've listened to it that Zoom is very invasive. It's very hard to get off your system. If you wanted to get,
I'm not worried about that so much. I'm just worried about it messing around with my settings and.
Yeah, well, it lingers longer, I think.
I like it. The passive aggressive bunch. I saw the title. I just hadn't seen the artwork for it. I like it.
So, who have we got in here? We got Cheryl, Christina.
Oh, Cheryl, I'm so sorry to hear about your husband passing away.
Oh
my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Tom was a great guy.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Sorry to hear that. Wow.
Oh, no. Oh, that is so sad.
Well, we're glad you're here. You still up in Cincinnati, right? That's where you're...
No, I'm down in Phoenix right now.
Not you. I'm talking to Cheryl.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. Asking me. He was like, well, I'm in Phoenix.
But, okay, just to be fair, Rick, where are you?
Cincinnati.
I could see why he thought I was talking to him, because I always think he's in Cincinnati. So
no, but really, I'm in Phoenix.
And he probably really was just in Cincinnati.
I was.
Oh, man. My lighting
for the better part of 4 hours.
What's that? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is that... Well, should I just go back to my plain old green screen, or because I'm freaking out with my hair? It looks like it's just got a gray shadow around it or something here.
It's not as distracting as when it just does the flashing thing.
Yeah, like it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Green screen fired. I don't know what it is. Why StreamYard can't get the green screen thing to work right.
I know. I find it a bit frustrating.
And apparently it's just us. There we go.
No one else in the world has that problem?
Nope.
On StreamYard?
Just airline pilot guy. No, I don't know. That's not fair of me to say that. Maybe other people do have the issue. I don't know. Okay. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of a late start. We kind of shifted everything an hour and a half, and it kind of threw me off with my timing a bit. So trying to get it all. I always underestimate how many things I have to do to get the show ready, until it comes down to the wire here, and I go, I haven't done. Oh, I need to do. And of course, we just got the Radio Roger intro. 20 minutes ago, Liz, or half an hour ago, something like that. Yeah, not long ago. So I had to do all that quickly. Let's see, and it's not all prepackaged. He gives me the voiceover, and then I put it on the put it with the music. So I have mixing to do every time. Isn't that interesting?
It's hilarious.
Fascinating. Thank you for that behind the scenes insight.
You're welcome. Is it coming through my speaker, or is it? Gotta say something.
Something.
Hello.
Something.
No. Okay. Yeah. Just your audio sounds so great that it sounds like you're right here in the room with what?
We're behind that damn screen.
Don't tell Jeff, but we're behind his green screen.
Yeah.
You guys are so clever. I didn't even hear you come into the house. Wow. Liz says that somebody's been out there mowing the lawn. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Actually, yeah, maybe our lawn mowing people will come by today. I don't know. It's supposed to be really, really stormy this afternoon. Again, it was like really stormy late afternoon, evening for us here in Atlanta. How's your weather over there, Steph?
Same. It poured.
Stormy.
I could hear myself there, like echoing. That was weird.
Can you?
I don't know. Just that one time I did.
Yeah, you're a little echoey.
I'm echoey? Why am I echoey?
I don't know.
She doesn't sound echoey to me.
No, I
No,
just
you sound
I
fine,
I felt like I heard myself through someone else's headphones or speaker or something. Anyway,
Feedback.
no, the weather's been the same as in Atlanta. It is hot and muggy, and then thunderstorms in the afternoon.
Yep, you can count on it.
Every single day. It's going to do the same thing
Every
again
day.
today.
Every effing day. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Bay Area.
You know what?
is
I
on
actually
fire. I
love
heard about
thunderstorms when I'm not
I do too.
up in the air. I just don't like them when I'm flying. Or if I'm away. I like them if I'm flying, if I'm, widely spaced and I don't have to get anywhere near them. I think everybody shares that same
Yeah.
feeling.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. See, what
I
that
just heard
means,
myself
Steph,
again
means
there.
she likes flying in thunderstorms. That's what I got from that.
Not really.
No?
Why?
Okay.
That's so weird.
You still
I can hear
hearing
myself.
echoing?
Yeah, I'm still hearing myself.
Yeah,
let me
I
turn
can
my
hear
mic-
you
Do you
echo.
hear that too?
It sounds like you're in a really echoey room.
I'm not. I'm in my office. Hold on. I'm going to shut the door, but I don't think that's going to make any difference.
No, I
Not
don't
like the
think.
echoes coming from out in the hallway.
Unless you had something playing on a loudspeaker in your room, Liz, I can't see how it would. You definitely on your nice mic, yeah? Steph, give it a tap.
Oh, me?
Sorry. Yeah, you're definitely on the right mic. Unless you've got a loudspeaker going in there, I don't know how it's going to echo. But I can hear myself echoing now.
You hear yourself echoing?
Yeah.
Okay, now Nick's echoing. But I don't hear any of the echoing, by the way, just to let you know.
I'll just quack like a duck. Apparently you can't hear a duck's echo.
Right.
Rick, do you hear all this echoing?
I just heard myself echo, actually.
Oh.
Wow, what's going on?
I don't know.
I know, and I've made sure that I'm talking to Liz that I am not. I don't have my speakers going at all, as far as I can tell.
James is asking whether I like the same route over and over and over. No, I don't. I like a little variety.
How about now? Is the echoing still going or not?
Still echoing? I don't know. No, now I don't hear it.
Neither do I.
Huh.
No, I don't either.
Oh, you know what? Well, it was coming through my speakers, but I don't know how it was doing that because I'm not sending anything through the speakers. That's strange. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's why I said earlier it sounded like you guys were coming through my speakers. And you were.
That would account for it, then.
But you're not
That
supposed to be.
explains all the things.
I don't get why it was happening. The audio sometimes is just very, very weird. Hard to understand. Okay. Let me get to this and see if you guys can hear any of this.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
Do you hear Radio Roger there?
Yep.
We do.
Good.
That's a thumbs up.
That's what she said.
Well,
You can take that.
she has a problem.
Okay. Okay, we got that. And we need to start the recorders if you got them.
Yep.
You know what? Not everybody has them, so don't worry about it. We'll just rely upon.
What am I going to do with the
Mine's
3.5 second recording now?
I'm sorry, what?
Never mind. I was just saying, what am I going to do with that 3.5 second recording I've now got?
You'll have to throw it away. Okay, so I'm turning up my audio on the stream because Liz said it was a little bit faint. Okay.
Now you see, my flashing has stopped now on that same picture that was flashing earlier.
Maybe because I'm not doing a green screen over here anymore.
Well, it
No, it
seems
was
to be
flashing
independent
before.
of that, Jeff,
Yeah.
because it was flashing when you weren't even in the stream.
Oh, well then, could be my fault then, huh? I don't
Not
know
your
what the
fault.
deal is.
Not your fault.
Not my fault.
It's
take the
StreamYard's
blame.
fault.
Okay.
They've improved their video quality. I saw.
To get 1080, you have to be on the Pro plan, and we're not on the Pro plan.
But they said they even improved the quality of the 10.
Oh yeah, they did.
720.
They did tweak the 720. I don't know exactly what they did. I didn't see that particular episode when they were talking about it, but you're right. Okay. They did. They did do something, and it looks pretty good to me.
Graham Figs in the chat room, logging en route to Boston from Farnborough. There he is. So that was Graham, who I was chatting to earlier
level 430. Wow. Show off.
Very nice.
Nice job, Graham.
In his G4.
Yeah. That must be a very fancy G4 if you got decent Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Nice.
Sounds very cool.
I'm going to see Graham tomorrow. No, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He does get around.
In your church bar.
In our church bar. Now, it is a Catholic church, so having beer in our church would not be really that unusual.
Oh, fair enough.
Just like the Lutheran church. I grew up in that tradition. In fact, a lot of my friends in Mobile were Baptists, and they come over to our house for church parties, and they go, Jeff, is that your pastor over there? The one smoking the pipe and drinking the beer?
Yes, that's him.
They're freaking out.
I love it.
Yeah, that's our pastor. He's cool.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's brilliant.
Let's see. Okay, what was I doing here? I need to start the recording.
Oh gosh, that's terrifying.
What is?
Nick.
What is he doing now? Oh my gosh. Okay. Stop it. Okay. No clapping necessary since I'm just recording it myself. Thank you.
Oh, thank God I've only just got over the last bit of clap.
The last round of clap.
It'd be embarrassing to have to visit your doctor again for that.
Yes.
Like, well, we treated it, but you see.
But you'd think I'd adjust my behavior. But oh wait, I have to adjust this because Rick is not in Sydney.
Not anymore. Not for a long time to come, hopefully.
What do you call it again? The Valley of the Sun?
Valley of the Sun. Call it Valley of the Clouds today, though.
Valley of the Sun sometimes.
Sometimes.
Is it getting to be monsoon season there?
In the middle of the monsoon season now.
Oh, okay. There we go. All righty. I think I might be ready.
I heard that, Arnie. The ISS is leaking.
Pardon me?
What?
The International Space Station's having a leak.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I heard about
Need
that.
to get some chewing gum and just
Yes.
plug that.
Yeah.
They're all going to have
leak?
to sleep in the Soviet capsule tonight and close off all the sections, and then they're going to measure.
It was the Soviet capsule that was leaking, actually.
They picked the wrong spot then. I understood
Tell
they
the
were going
Russians
to
to get
measure
into
the
the
pressure
Like
drop in all the sections.
A flaw in their
work
logic
out
there.
which section was leaking.
Are we allowed to call it a Soviet module?
Well, actually, you're right. Russian.
Oh, okay, Russian.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It is going quite fast as well, so Russian's very appropriate.
Yes. Tell the Russian guys to get in their little capsule, and then we'll separate it.
Wow.
Bye.
Yes, I'm sorry. I've been doing too much Cold War stuff lately.
Okay. I think I might be
Although
ready.
Christmas is coming early this week.
Thank you, Liz. It is.
I see that.
Mm.
All right. I guess here goes nothing. For real. I got Liz to chuckle on that one. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 439.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 20th of August, 2020.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy. Picture light and he's flying by with the airline pilot guy.
In today's episode, a freight flight crashes in the Congo. People on Air Force One spot a possible drone landing near Washington. More news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, Dr. Christmas and his bullet. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 439 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an Emmy Award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the... Yeah, I heard it too. I was hoping you guys didn't. I was looking at the setup for Audio Hijack, my virtual mixer, and I noticed that one of my soundboards was not loaded for some reason, and then I remembered that I reconfigured it doing something else the other day, and so I thought, I'll just reconfigure it while Radio Roger is talking.
How'd that go
It
for
didn't
you?
work. Not well, but I'm thinking, well, I'm not getting any reaction from anybody, so maybe...
I just
okay.
ignore those things because I figure you'll fix it in post or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you didn't change your settings again, did you, Jeff?
Well, it's too complicated to really explain what I did that for, so I won't.
That's because there was no reason.
No, it was a good reason. The way I have audio piped through so that it'll play through my speakers when I'm doing editing. So anyway, well, now it's set up the way it's supposed to. So Radio Roger, do you mind if we have you do a take 2? Actually, I can just pick up from there. How about? Okay. Thank you, Radio Roger, an Emmy Award-winning TV and radio report. Hey, here we go. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an Emmy Award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds in New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in news and aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia, and joining me today from her lakeside home in the Carolinas, she's a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument-rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. It is so good to be with you guys, and I'll be here for hopefully most of the show. My apologies in advance. I do have somewhere to be this evening, a prior commitment that I almost forgot about, but thankfully I remembered, and we'll have a great show, and then I'll keep those commitments as well. So.
The perils of popularity. And, oops. Wait, hang on. Not yet, Nick. Before we get to you. Oh, and I meant to get a new intro music thing. Oh, well. From his mobile studio in the Valley of the Sun, sometimes. World traveler, airplane mechanic, Breitling cognoscenti, fitness hound, and international air freight captain, it's Miami Rick.
Hey, everybody. Hey, what's wrong with a little big old jet? I love that.
Oh, I love it. It's just that there are people out there that might object to me using that little piece of music.
Well, I hear you.
That's not the original, though.
So. Like that. Exactly. So we're good. Well, anyway, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here again after a whirlwind session of north-south flying. Looking forward to another great show.
Can't wait to hear about it. And now from his studio in the English countryside, a professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired captain for an international airline based in London, it's Captain Nick.
Hi there, crew. Great to be back with you, and I'm going to be here until I fall off my stool.
Okay, well,
that might not be
stay
that
tuned
long
for that.
Yeah, yeah, really.
Well,
really
we're
good
30 minutes
more, so
we better hurry on with the news before he falls off his stool.
Stand by for news.
All right, the first item, a crash. What?
Oh, sorry. Mine are out of order. Why am I out of order? Go ahead.
Okay. You're out of order.
Yeah.
Forget I said
Literally.
that. Just start over again.
All right. This is an event or an accident that occurred in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A Doran Air Cargo LET L410, or LET, I'm not sure how that aircraft manufacturer is pronounced. We'll just call it a LET. On behalf of St. Agafresco, or Freco, registration 9 Sierra Golf Echo November, performing a freight flight from Kalima to Bukavu in the DR of Congo, with 2 passengers and 2 crew, reported on approach to Bukavu about 7 minutes prior to estimated landing and about 15 nautical miles from the airport around 3:30 local time in the afternoon on Thursday, August 13th, 2020. However, it did not arrive at the airport. An immediate search for the aircraft remained unsuccessful due to fog in the area. Technical timeout. I can't stand it. I have to read all these messages that you guys are passing back and forth.
Oh, they don't involve you at all. It's fine, Jeff. Go ahead. Sorry.
I try to read the news, and in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, I just see all these things going back and forth and back and forth.
Liz and I are commiserating over my computer having reset all of the settings, which is making it very difficult for me to function. But I'll catch up. It's okay.
I think maybe you need to redo the sort order.
Yeah.
Just I think we're using title.
It's all good. Go ahead. It just decided to revert back.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see.
Nothing to see.
We figured we've already sorted this out. It's good.
Okay.
Moving on.
Good.
I'm loving this show already.
It's a train wreck. It really is. That means it's going to be a really good show.
These are how the best ones begin.
People just, they want to see the disasters.
They want to see.
I know it's like a bunch of rubberneckers on the highway.
Yeah.
It's what you all people are. Right. All of you in the chat room. Shame on you. Look the other way. Keep driving. Nothing to see here. First item in the news: a Doran Air Cargo LET L410 on behalf of St. Agafresco. I don't know. Registration 9 Sierra Golf Echo November, performing a freight flight from Kalima to Bukavu in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, with 2 passengers and 2 crew, reported on approach to Bukavu about 7 minutes prior to estimated landing and about 15 nautical miles from the airport around 15:30 local of Thursday, August 13th, 2020. However, they did not arrive at the airport. An immediate search for the aircraft remained unsuccessful due to fog in the area. And by the way, this is from Simon Radsky's wonderful Aviation Herald website. A MONUSCO flight arriving at the same time. Is that the one that we determined was like a really long acronym for like a United Nations relief for something or other and something or other? I didn't write it down this time.
Yeah. Was it the one like in French or something like the acronym?
Or something.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, one of those flights was arriving at about the same time. They reported they did not see anything of the missing aircraft. On August 14th, 2020, the next day, the governor of South Kivu, including Bukavu, reported the aircraft, according to the airport, a St. Agafresco aircraft crashed about 3 nautical miles east of Bukavu's Kavuma Airport in dense forest, just about 495 meters outside of the Kahuzi-Biega National Park. There are no survivors. A local reported the aircraft appears to be the LET L410. There's no official word on the aircraft type involved. No official word, anyway. In the afternoon of the 14th, the Aviation Herald received information that the aircraft involved was a L410. Tail number 9 Sierra Golf Echo November. It had been chartered by Agafresco. The aircraft was carrying medical supplies for the COVID-19 pandemic and had not been permitted to carry passengers, but carried non-authorized passengers anyway, I think 2. On August 16th, the chief pilot of Kin Avia reported and provided evidence that 9 Sierra Golf Echo November had been operated by Kin Avia until October 2019 and was subsequently sold to Doran Air Cargo. There's no evidence of a currently at. Well, anyway, so this gets into the little details about who is operating, who officially owns the airplane. But all we know is that this airplane was performing a COVID-19 pandemic supply flight and crashed. And that's all we know.
Wow.
Thank you. Liz just looked it up for me. The United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
There you go. I was just about to copy and paste that into the
That rolls right off the tongue.
chat room, but I won't.
No. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, not really much to say there. It said there was some fog. But other than that, I don't know. Is there high terrain? I don't think there's high terrain around that area, is there? I don't know.
No, I've been to that airport, but I can't imagine aids to navigation being that good in that neck of the woods. So that might be an issue, perhaps there. And then the fact
I've only ever overflown the Congo, but it's a bit like cowboy country down there, really, isn't it? I mean, if they don't even know who's operating this airplane, whether it's a legal company or not, it's just sad that, of course, this is probably almost certainly providing aid for the country, desperately needed aid. But a lot of these airfields, I suspect, have very limited navigation aids, approach aids, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Very, very much. I remember flying up and down Africa. We used to do a intra-Africa flying sometimes from Luanda across over to Nairobi. And, it's one of those TOPS operations where you want to keep your lights on at all times to make sure you see everybody else around you. And really,
you only turn them off if you only turn them off if you're illegally changing flight levels.
Exactly, and always, and never believe someone else's, radio calls.
Exactly right.
They say they're on a base to final turn, and they're still 50 miles out, type of thing, or so you just never know. It's really
just a very long.
And transponders down there are a bit of a novelty, really. So
they're definitely optional. We've had horror stories of our guys coming back on genuine, on the regular air routes up from Johannesburg, and there's been a guy below them who's not speaking to anyone, and they can see him. This is at night, mind you. They can see his lights, and then they hear this voice calling for climb, and he gets denied because the one of our company aircrafts was in the way. So he stops calling. The lights go out. 30 minutes later, the lights come back on, and he's 2,000 feet above him.
That's strange.
How did that happen?
That's really weird.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
There you
go. And that's while you're flying. It's a whole other story when you're at the airport trying to get to and from the terminal, and it's a different story when you're at the airport trying to get to and from the hotel. So it's just
lots of
not a lot of communication and a lot of fear factors involved.
I tell you, I mean, every when we would go to our layover hotel in Luanda, it was actually it's a beautiful hotel, but it did feel a little bit like a military compound, and it was and we had a very, very heavily armed escort from the airport to the hotel and back, and it was quite the interesting experience. I don't I don't recommend it.
I was gonna say you don't miss it.
No, I don't. I like.
Well, hey,
I don't at all.
Let's keep it in Africa because we have a couple of items here in our news segment today over there in that neck of the woods. Item D. Aircraft accident. A Cessna 208 Bravo Grand Caravan suffered an accident on takeoff from New Fangak in South Sudan. The aircraft had been chartered by non-governmental organization Nile Hope to deliver humanitarian aid to New Fangak. It had become stuck in the mud and was pushed out before attempting to take off. The Grand Caravan reportedly went off the runway and hit a tree. The right-hand wing separated and the aircraft flipped over. 2 of the 5 passengers suffered minor injuries, and they had some photos here of the accident scene. Yeah, the thing's upside down. The right wing is missing.
Not in the picture, yeah.
Yeah, not there.
Or maybe it is. Maybe it's
picture.
underneath the plane there.
Or that could be. Yeah, there's something there that's looks like it might match that airplane's paint scheme, kind of underneath and behind it. But just kind of curious about this one. Again, that's all the information we have on it. No fatalities, just a couple of injuries. But it kind of begs the question, why did they mention that the aircraft was in the mud and was pushed out prior to taking off? Do you think it had something to do with the balked or the crash takeoff?
Oh, I would assume the ground conditions were pretty damned, soggy.
I'm just looking at the picture here. I don't see a paved runway, so
no, I don't see a runway at all.
I'm assuming it was grass, and like Nick said, probably. Yeah.
I looked up on Google Maps, believe it or not, because I had no idea where this little city was in South Sudan, and I was able to kind of find, using the satellite imagery, the airstrip, and it is not a paved airstrip at all, but I think it looks dark. It's like a darker brown compared to the green around it. It's close to a river there. And so I'm imagining it's like a hard-packed dirt, or if it's been raining a lot, hard-packed mud.
Or just
soft-packed mud.
Or soft-packed mud, or just mud.
Yeah, there's a lot of grass.
The fact that it's in the bend of a river makes me think that that's probably pretty swampy ground there. When it rains, it probably doesn't drain very well.
Probably not.
I mean, I don't know at what point, but I'm looking at just the nose gear there. There seems to be an awful lot of grass in that, stuck up in there. You see that?
I'm trying to find the nose gear.
I'm looking at
maybe mud in the front gear. Little vibration there, perhaps, or I don't know. But I tell you, I mean, I've only taken off and landed in a grass strip once, and on a Cessna 206, and it's interesting. I mean, you got to be really, really careful. When they teach about those soft field takeoffs and landings, and when you go to take off, you kind of keep it in ground effect until you have enough airspeed to get off the ground there, and it's
I mean,
it's
you
challenging,
want to
and I can't
pull back pressure while you're taxiing, that being part of that takeoff roll too, because if you get stuck in something, if there's a rut there or a ditch or tall grass or something, I mean, just anything you can't see, that's going to impair your ability to maintain directional control, or cause it to get stuck, or other bad things. So.
All right, or bury that nose wheel. And
bury the nose wheel, and yep, exactly. I don't see many trees in the background here, though. Like, what tree did they hit?
He found the one tree.
The one tree. Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
Maybe that's what's up in the nose here. It's the tree.
Yeah.
I found some information on the airfield here that says it's actually made of sand. The old Fangak new airstrip.
Well, now there is an old Fangak across the river. Now, maybe that's
the town, I think, Old Fangak.
No, there's actually a town called New Fangak and Old Fangak.
Oh, right, okay.
Fangak. Yeah, so make sure you get the right one.
The new airstrip is apparently made of sand, so hopefully.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, all those APG listeners in South Sudan, please send us some feedback and set us straight here, okay?
Hundreds of you out there.
Thousands.
You never know.
You never know, right? Okay, that's enough of that. Let's continue with item B, something that we
transition
can relate to a little bit more, like runways that are hard surface and big jet airplanes. A FedEx Federal Express Boeing 767-300 freighter, registration November 146, FedEx, or FE, performing flight 1026 from Newark, New Jersey to Los Angeles, California, LAX, with 2 crew, was on final approach to Los Angeles' runway 24 right when the crew received an unsafe gear indication. The left main gear was not down and locked. The aircraft went around, entered a hold at 5,000 feet while the crew worked the checklists. The aircraft subsequently performed a low approach to runway 24 left. An inspection from the ground could not solidly determine whether the left main gear was down. The gear doors were open. That would indicate to me that there was probably some kind of a gravity, like an alternate gear extension procedure. Usually the gear doors. Well, you know what? I wish that we knew someone that knows something about the 767 freighter.
If somebody knew somebody, but we might get someone next week. So let's save that one for
let's
future episode.
Move on to Adam C.
No, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
You know what? Let me read the narrative, and then you can kind of chime in and give us some details about what you think may have happened here and why the gear doors were open on that second pass. Anyway, the aircraft positioned for another approach to runway 24 left, descending to about 300 feet this time. Operations vehicles placed along the runway reported the left main gear did not appear to be in position. The crew advised they needed to talk to operations and maintenance, but they suspected there was not a lot more they could do. The aircraft entered another hold at 5,000 feet for about 40 minutes, and then they performed a partial gear down landing on runway 25 right, which is the longest runway at Los Angeles International, about 45 minutes after the second low approach. The aircraft came to a stop on the center line of the runway, sitting on its nose gear, right main gear, and left engine cowling. The crew evacuated the aircraft through the cockpit window via a rope, and one of the pilots received injuries during the evacuation. And we have pictures here. By the way, this is from Aviation Herald. And there's a video there. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at that. That's a local news report from ABC 7 News. And in it, they have the video from somebody that was there watching the airplane come in, and the sparks and scraping and stuff like that. It looks like it did a really nice job of keeping it right on the center line of the runway 25 right. And the front part of the airplane is kind of listing upward, so a little bit higher than normal because of the fact the left main gear appears that has at least partially collapsed. And the thing that I'm scratching my head about, Rick, is why would they use the windows for
the rope? That's I'm wondering about that one as well, because the 7.6 with freighters, freighters don't have the inflatable escape rafts or the slides that
they don't.
That airliner. Okay. No, they don't. So the 767 and the 747, they have inertia reels. So on the 7.6, when you open the door, which is the exact same door as the passenger version has, so basically, you pull the handle up and then the door it rotates out of the way into the upper portion of the fuselage there. And if you're standing facing the door outwards, up over your head and to the right, there is a box with a set of inertia reels, which you hang on to, and you pull it out, and you basically, you let yourself off the aircraft with that. And then obviously that slows your descent all the way to the ground there. Over each pilot station, there's a door which has an escape rope, which is obviously long enough to get you all the way to the ground. And this rope has a set of knots to help you hang on to and let yourself climb down that rope there. And also it prevents you from getting rope burn as you're coming down. But then again, just like you, I don't know why they opted for the ropes versus the inertia reels. And also the fact that the aircraft is listed to port, so that door is closer to the ground. So I don't know. I really don't know what the issue was there.
You're saying if they had used the L1 door, the left forward door, that they do have the inertial reels they could have used.
Yep. They all. In fact, I do believe when I posted a little tour of what the 7.6 freighter cockpit and that whole front area looks like, I do remember pointing that out. I pointed at at where the inertia wheels are and how to pull them out and all that stuff. So, but as far as the other stuff, the reason I looked up the checklist for this particular event, the Gear Disagree checklist. And the reason why the landing gear doors were open is because the procedure itself, it tells you to. So let's kind of go through this checklist here, because I feel like you guys are going to find this a little interesting here. So the checklist, it tells you, it gives you three possibilities, right? Whether the landing gear lever is up, the landing gear lever is off or the landing gear lever is down. And the difference between them, obviously up, it means that the landing gear itself is up and the hydraulic system is pressurizing the gear to keep to stay up. On the 767, we have to remember that the once the landing gear is retracted and you bring the landing gear lever to the off position, what that does is that depressurizes the center hydraulic system. And what that does, it just basically lets the gear sit on the doors as the pressure from that system goes away. And then when it's time to put the gear down, all you really do is you just let the doors open and then the gear free falls and then it locks and then the doors close back up. So that's the reason why you put the landing gear lever to the off position. And then the other option here in the checklist says landing gear lever is down and all gear down green lights are illuminated. Basically are not illuminated, sorry, and basically that's what happened in this case. So basically the checklist brings you to bring the landing gear lever to the off position, and by doing that you're depressurizing that center hydraulic system, which is what actuates the landing gear up and down. And it also tells you to use the alternate gear extension, and that is a little switch that sits right next to the lever, and by putting that to the down position, all you're doing is you're electrically releasing the up locks on the gear and the doors, letting the doors open and the gear free fall. And then the gear is locked aerodynamically by the side brace and the drag brace. And the reason why the doors stay open is because since you depressurize that center system, which actuates the gear, the doors have no way of coming back up out of the airstream. That's why the gear doors are down. Now, interesting thing here to keep in mind is, as per the checklist, it tells you to use flap 30 for landing. And the reason for flap 30 is because that's the largest flap setting that we have, which allows for the slowest possible approach and landing speed. And then it also tells you not to arm the speed brake lever. And the reason behind that is because the speed brake lever, by just the system logic, when you touch down and you have wheels spin up and the strut compresses, it automatically deploys the speed brakes. And if you don't have one of the gears down, then obviously that's going to bring that's going to make the wing slam down to the ground, and you could lose control that way. And another thing I noticed is that these guys didn't use reverse thrust, which is obviously what you don't want to do that, because also by system logic, once you bring the thrust levers to the idle position and you pull either thrust reverser lever up, that'll automatically deploy the speed brakes as well. And you want to keep those speed brakes stowed to let that wing down slowly.
Right, you want to fly that thing down.
Exactly. They did a fantastic job. They kept it right on center line. It was just textbook. They couldn't have done it better. It was greatly flown.
Nobody does it better.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read somewhere in the comments that this airplane was only like 3 or 3.5 years old. Pretty new airplane. 3 years old.
Yeah, it's 3 years old. I've actually noticed. So FedEx has been flying into Charlotte in the mornings at like 6:30 or so, and so I see it a lot when I'm on my way to work. It's always a 7.6, and it's always a relatively new 7.6. The oldest one I've seen has been like 3 years old. So I just thought that was interesting.
Just trying to keep up the standards at Charlotte.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
it's
going to be interesting to see what happened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 3 years or newer.
Well, that's what the NOTAM says.
We set a standard, so
Yeah, that's why honestly, that's why they stopped flying the Mad Dog in there.
Well, yeah,
it's just too old.
That's really just way outside of the standards.
I know, way outside.
Way outside.
All right. Well done, crew. And sorry to hear that one of the pilots was injured, but I don't think it's a super serious injury. I think that I read somewhere that it was like maybe a fractured heel, which does sound pretty painful.
Ouch. No, that's ouchy for sure.
Yeah. All right. Ready to move on to this one? I thought we'd have fun with this one. A balloon accident. We don't have these very often on the APG.
Oh, they happen all the time. Bloody dangerous things.
And by for feedback.
Balloon expert, Captain Nick, is going to tell us about this incident. Let's see. Here's the narrative from aviationsafety.net. A hot air balloon was caught by a gust during landing and bounced several times. 4 of the 7 occupants were ejected from the basket. Then the balloon slid down a mountain into the direction of the river Rhine and was finally found entangled in trees with the remaining 3 occupants. Sadly, the pilot of the balloon was killed, and at least 2 passengers were heavily injured. So not a happy ending to this outing on the Rhine River.
No.
Definitely not.
A picture there about halfway down this embankment of a hill right next to the Rhine River. You can see the blue canopy of the hot air balloon collapsed.
Yeah, it's a pretty steep piece of terrain. Looks pretty inhospitable. I'm wondering where he was trying to land.
I don't know. Maybe somewhere on the top, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, but I don't know. It's hard to tell from
Really
the
doesn't
picture.
give a lot of detail regarding exactly.
I mean, there's a lot more like just open grass at the top of the little cliff area there.
Yeah, perhaps
You know, down
he just
lower, it's just-
misjudged the landing distance required.
I guess we'll find out once they recover the black boxes there.
Yeah. The wicker box.
Yeah, the wicker box.
I was trying to share the screen. For some reason, I'm having difficulties just so people can see the picture of the thing. Yeah, not working at all. In fact, everything's frozen.
Oh, it's just you that's frozen, Joe. Oh, you're back now.
Oh, look at that.
Look.
We're seeing many different desktop. Okay, it's very, very confused. I'm going to stop. I'm
So
really
you
pushing it today.
Yeah, staring at that image long enough, you'll open another dimension.
I know. I was afraid that we might. And you know what's really weird about that isn't the Fifth Dimension the group that sings Up, Up and Away?
Oh, very good.
See how it all kind of ties in?
It all ties in together.
Terrifying.
Yes. Speaking of terrifying, you're sitting in your house at night and you don't really hear anything because it doesn't look like the engines were operating on this item E. And you hear a big crash. And this was sent up to us by Bob Lufkin, one of our APG community members. He said, "This is next to my friend's house. Plane came down a little short of the runway. Pilot and passenger walked away. No one hurt in the house." And this was in Groton, Connecticut. And I'm not sure exactly how far. 2.5 miles from the Groton, New London airport.
I don't know. If I crashed that airplane in somebody's house, I'd run away.
All right.
I mean, I'm amazed that they walked away from this, to be honest.
And
Like,
some
just
fell
looking
on
at
stony
the
ground.
pictures. It's
Yeah. What did you say, Nick? I think we missed a little quip from you. And
No,
I was
it's not
listening
worth
to Liz and I
repeating.
heard some kind of alarm going off. So I was distracting. What exactly did you say?
I was saying if I'd just crashed my airplane into someone's house, I wouldn't walk away. I'd run away.
Yeah, I run away really quickly. Maybe nobody
Yeah.
saw us.
nothing to see
right.
here. Just, we're
Yeah.
gonna couple
So
quick
the
steps and then
articles-
take off running.
From the Connecticut Post, I think ctpost.com, Groton, Connecticut. Call it what you want, but no one died or even was seriously hurt at Ken Johnson's house on Ring Drive at Donna Drive Monday night, even with that twin-engine Piper that crashed into his living room. It was a twin-engine Seneca, I believe. Did I put that information here or not? I don't think I did.
No.
But I did find it on, by the way, Liz, I was able to find it on aviationsafety.net. So it was actually logged. There was no fire. Johnson just calls it pure
Interesting.
luck. But his daughter, Tammy De La Cruz, and several neighbors who saw it Monday night or in the hours since have all offered another theory. De La Cruz says it's a miracle. Who's married to State Representative Joe De La Cruz, a Democrat in Groton, sitting in a chair across Ring Drive from the house Tuesday morning. I said to my dad, "There's an angel that's on your shoulder." And they said, "Nope, that's an airplane on top of that house."
See, the way to get around this thing is, the pilot dressed up as Santa Claus with a bag of presents. Just
Yeah,
walk
there you
in,
go.
You're like, what? I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, it's August, but I'm just
I'm here
trying to
early.
be proactive and yeah.
Exactly.
Just practicing. Yeah, so not a lot of information here. They did say that the National Transportation Safety Board is going to be investigating the crash of the PA-34 into the house because it's not normal for the PA-34 to land on the roof of houses 2.5 miles from the airport.
Nope.
Having said that, it says investigators are not traveling to the scene. So,
they're not? Oh.
So presumably they're relying on people's witness testimony.
Yeah. Like, well,
it was an angel.
Yeah.
They probably, as Liz is saying in my ears, is there something to the fact that there was no fire? Maybe could that possibly mean that
be a clue.
There was no fuel on board the airplane?
It sounds
could be
plausible, at least.
Yeah, quite plausible. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Bob, for sending that in. Let us know if you hear about what may have happened here as the investigation continues. Let's see. The next one in the list in the news is an ATR 72, Golden Myanmar Airlines. Am I saying that right? Myanmar?
Myanmar.
Yeah.
Myanmar. Yeah. You know Myanmar. We went to the store. Airlines Aviation de Transport Regional, or ATR 72-212 Alpha, registration X-ray Yankee Alpha Juliet Mike, performing flight 506 from Mandalay to Yangon, Myanmar, with 72 passengers and 5 crew, landed on Yangon's runway 21 at 16:37 local time, when both nose wheels separated from the strut upon touchdown. The aircraft came to a stop about 2,100 meters or 6,900 feet down the runway, resting on the nose gear strut and the main wheels. There were no injuries. By the way, this occurred back in August of last year, 2019. Let's see. Myanmar's DCA, Directorate of Civil Aviation, reported the landing gear failed while landing in Yangon. The runway needed to be closed for a couple of hours. A heavy downpour took place at the time of the landing. So weather was a factor here, I believe. On 14th of August 2020, Myanmar's AAIB released their final report, concluding the probable causes of the occurrence were: when the aircraft was in short finals, the power setting was inappropriate and the approach speed exceeded the stabilized approach speed criteria. Okay. The pilot in command decided to continue with the landing despite the destabilized approach and being advised to conduct a go-around by the co-pilot. Shut up, co-pilot. Due to insufficient flare, the nose gear of the aircraft contacted the runway first, instead of the main gear in a normal landing. The excessive load on the nose gear as a result of the aircraft's abnormal landing attitude resulted in the nose gear collapsing. There we go. So the AAIB summarized the sequence of events. They received the aerodrome information from the control tower. Quote, heavy rain on the runway, visibility less than 1.2 nautical miles. Thereafter, the pilot in command took the control of the aircraft from the co-pilot. Give it to me.
Yeah, I was going to say with the words, hey, watch this.
Watch this.
Hold my beer. Wait, just kidding.
Hold my beer.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
No, he did not say that.
Oh, okay. That's not a quote from
I am not implying that or suggesting that was a factor here, because it was not.
Okay. Because of the heavy rain, the aerodrome operations were suspended. Consequently, the aircraft made the holding over HGU VOR at altitude. I think that's a misspelling. 10,000 feet for about 25 minutes as per ATC's instruction. After about 25 minutes of holding, the visibility over the Yangon International Airport improved and aircraft were permitted to land. The incident aircraft made a descent to 3,000 feet and was cleared for the ILS approach to runway 21. ATC instructed the aircraft to report back when the approach lights were in sight. When the aircraft was about 3.5 nautical miles from the runway, the approach lights were visible, and the flight crew reported to ATC that the approach lights were in sight. When the aircraft was about 1.5 nautical miles from the runway, the rain intensity increased. The co-pilot asked the pilot in command whether to go around or stabilized. The PIC replied that the runway was in sight, so he continued to land the aircraft, ignoring the fact that the aircraft was not the approach was not stabilized, I guess. The aircraft landed with a nose-down attitude on the runway. It bounced 4 times forward and came to a stop about 7,000 feet from the threshold of runway 21. The aircraft encountered a nose gear axle rupture and the right nose wheel broke off. Yeah, so what we have here, let's see, the impact, that first touchdown on the nose gear was 1.83 G. Yeah, that's hard. Now, I guess
that'll make you bounce.
I don't think anybody here on the crew has ever flown the ATR, but from what I understand, it's a very, it's either like 0 degrees of pitch attitude and maybe even slightly lower. So it does come in a slightly nose down kind of attitude, but I guess when you bleed the airspeed off in the flare, you transition so that you touch down on the main gear first. And apparently this airplane had so much smash coming in, probably because of the weather conditions and other things going on. But there was no way for the captain to get the pitch angle high enough to prevent hitting the nose wheels because of the speed, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and
it says there's actually a nose down force applied on the control column too, just before touchdown.
Yeah, that's another thing that wasn't so great.
Yeah.
And then I wonder what their criteria for stabilized speed is, because it kind of, I mean, and throughout my career, it's kind of changed a little bit from plane to plane. It's usually reference speed, which is 1.3 times VSO, your stall speed in the landing configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 5. So you always add 5 knots additive there. So you fly the entire approach of VREF, whatever your VREF is, plus 5 knots. Those 5 knots usually bleed off. Well, no, they're not usually. They have to bleed off during the flare. So you touch down at VREF. And stabilized airspeed means that you stay at VREF up to plus 20 on the 74 and 777s and up to plus 15 on the 767, 757. So, and that is a lot of airspeed. If you're flying at reference speed plus, say, 25, that's a lot of airspeed to bleed off prior to landing. And now there's instances when you would actually have to fly an airspeed higher than VREF plus 5, and that's when you have a very strong gusty winds. And actually, the manual itself tells you to you're supposed to add half of your headwind component plus all of your gust wind component up to a maximum of VREF plus 15 or plus 20, depending on the type of aircraft you have. And the reason behind that is because when you're flying in very windy and gusty conditions, you don't want your airspeed to go below your reference speed, because that could the bottom could fall out, and that's no good either. So but to put yourself in a position where you're flying that high above reference speed to put you outside of that safety area there, it's a big problem. I wonder what happened there.
Well, they did say that the entire descent and approach was flown on autopilot. The autopilot was disengaged at 120 feet, gear down, flaps 33, 129 knots indicated was the V approach speed, plus 13 knots, 2.91 degrees nose down, winds from 271 degrees at 17. Over the next 15 seconds, the winds decreased to 12 knots. The indicated airspeed varied between 125 and 129 knots. The rate of descent decreased from 600 to 130 feet per minute. After the aircraft descended through 15 feet, AGL-2 nose down inputs, setting the nose to 1.8 degrees nose down, and control inputs to decrab were recorded. The rate of descent increased. And so it looks like, obviously not stable weather conditions. Looks like the winds were kind of variable and changing in velocity. But it did also note that there was no ground proximity TAWS wind shear caution nor a sink rate warning were recorded. So there wasn't any of that going on. So, yeah. Looks like just an unstabilized, so many times we talk about it on the show where these, we have incidents or accidents because the flights continued in a unstabilized or destabilized approach.
And here's another thing: when conditions are gusty and windy, it behooves you to take control of the aircraft early on, because if you're going to disconnect the autopilot at 100 feet off the ground, you have basically zero room to react to anything. Now,
and it doesn't give you a
that,
good feel for what's going on. You know,
exactly.
It's going to be a surprise. Like, oh, hey, wow.
This is like in baseball. I know that not everybody listening knows a lot about baseball, but before you go up to the batter's box, you take a bat and you start swinging it. You kind of start getting used to the motion of your swing and everything else. You don't just grab a bat and just walk up to the home plate and start swinging at pitches, right? You kind of get a feel for the bat, and it's the same thing you want to do as a pilot. You want to get a feel for the airplane, especially in conditions such as this.
Exactly right. And we can just leave that one there. I think we've said enough, but just disconnect a little earlier, and if you can't see, then just go around. And when it gets like that, it's your flight director is going to be all over the place. So it's an entirely visual maneuver. And by what I'm reading here, the fact that there was a lot of rain just prior to touchdown couldn't have helped. So,
and I think that the co-pilot could have been a little bit more assertive. Instead of saying, so what do you think, boss? Go around, or are we going to keep going here? What are we doing? Maybe something more like, let's go around.
That sounds a little bit like a formal call for the captain to make the decision whether the approach is stabilized or whether they go around. We used to have a similar call. We took it out. But to me, it sounded like it was just their way of getting a decision.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, we do have a stabilized call at 1,000 feet above field elevation or touchdown zone above the runway. The airplane's going to call out 1,000 feet radio altitude, and then at that point, you say either stabilized or unstabilized, go around, and at any point from that 1,000-foot gate all the way to touchdown. If it gets to the point where you become unstabilized, or you're ready to descend is too great, or you just lose sight of the runway, because it's happened to me many, many times where, just going into Luxembourg, I remember quite a bit. You're coming through maybe 500 feet, and you enter this very, very thick layer of fog that you can't see through. You can see through it vertically on a slant range, but not when you go in it, you lose sight of the runway. So, and if you don't break out by minimums, you have to go around. So, and that happens obviously below the 1,000-foot gate. So, a go around is always an option, as the song says. So.
Yes. All right. Regarding that 1,000-foot stabilized call, it's not a formal required call at Acme, but that's one of the things that I add when I'm pilot monitoring. When we go through 1,000 feet, we are required to say either cleared to land or not cleared to land. And I always throw in, stabilized parameters or matter, something to that effect, just so that.
Although, you know what, I've been in Hong Kong not too long ago. Well, actually, about a year ago, I've been cleared to land in Hong Kong at 300 feet maybe. So you can get your clearance to land.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that
right there.
I'm not saying it's required that you have the clearance to land at that point, but it's just kind of a cue for us to be aware that 1,000 feet, you're not cleared to land yet. So be aware. We still need that. Yeah,
and certain. I like it how different people have different things. Actually for us, our procedure is the nose landing light. It's off until you get your clearance to land, and then what I do is, and I've done this forever, is once we get to top of descent and we begin going down, I'll start a timer, and that'll remind me of a couple of things. The first one is to make sure that I go from QNH to QNE. From QNE to QNH, so at transition level, to go from 2992 to whatever the local altimeter is. And then once I get my clearance to land, I'll switch the chronograph off, and that is a reminder to me that as long as I see that timer going, I haven't been cleared to land. So as long as you get it done and you don't land without a clearance,
got to get her done. All right, moving on here from kind of an old airplane. I think it was built in 1978. It's a Sabreliner 75A, November 400 Romeo Sierra. Will never fly again. The Venezuelan Air Force detected an aircraft without a flight plan operating at a low altitude near, Rick, can you pronounce P-A-R-A?
Paraguaná.
Paraguaná. Okay. Venezuela. It was forced down and crashed at a beach. Both pilots were killed. And so in this, there was a copy of the tweets from the Venezuelan Air Force, and it was all in Spanish. And so I ran this through Google Translate. And the first picture, the accompanying text was, let's see, #last hour. In joint and sovereign action are combative at CODAI_FANB. I'm not sure what that stands for. Detected through its exploration systems an illegal aircraft which was flying west of the, what was that again, Rick? Paraguaná Peninsula without a flight plan. And then the text for the following photograph said, in view of the fact that the aircraft proceeded to perform evasive maneuvers at low altitude, it was assisted and persuaded by #AMB aircraft, for which it lost control, rushing to the ground. The #FANB continues to permanently monitor our airspace. In other words, don't mess with us, people, if you don't have a flight plan. I just love the maybe lost in translation here, but the aircraft was, quote, assisted and persuaded, and it lost control and rushed to the ground and crashed. There's a picture of the Sabreliner at the shoreline in the water.
That's post persuasion.
Yes, that's after the persuasion. So, if you're thinking about like doing some illegal flying activity in Venezuela, like drug running or whatever, I'm not saying that that's what happened here, but you should be very careful because you might be assisted by the Venezuelan Air Force and persuaded to crash. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Anything to comment upon?
No.
I'd like to know what airplanes they have in their Air Force.
I don't know.
It's interesting. That's November registry.
Well, that was the one. Yeah.
November 400
Perhaps it was
RS.
obtained via
Illegally?
questionable means as well.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, wow. They've got F-16s.
Oh, really? Wow.
And
That's very
Sukhoi
persuasive.
Su-30s.
Yeah.
I think the bloke should probably have landed. Although, just follow
Maybe he was
me.
trying to on the beach, and they just
Yeah,
they did. They landed.
They landed.
Yeah.
They
Very
landed all right.
successfully. Yep.
Although, being escorted to an airfield might be safer next time.
Yeah. Or filing a flight
Well, it depends
plan.
on how well they were taking that assistance and persuasion.
Yes.
They may have resisted, and
You don't want to resist, apparently.
No.
Resistance is futile.
That's right.
Yes. So true. All right. Item H. Got a lot of news today's show. I think because we were afraid that we weren't going to have enough feedback, and now we have plenty of both. So
That's fine.
we're going to, we love it. Yeah. Makes Liz happy. She just told me. And that's the most important thing, I think, making Liz happy. JetBlue A320 at Portland on January 20th, 2017. So this is a few years back. And January 21st, 2017. Fumes injure captain. Court confirms causal link. Again, this is from the Aviation Herald. JetBlue, and I think we talked about this Fume event or shortly after it happened in 2017. And then some time has gone on. Just a reminder of what happened here. A JetBlue Airbus A320-200 was performing Flight 1205 from New York, JFK to Portland, Oregon, PDX. Was descending towards Portland when the flight attendants and passengers complained about a foul odor in the cabin. The aircraft landed without further incident. The crew, different from the crew the following day, requested medical assistance for the arrival and wrote up a fume event, Neither crew nor passengers needed medical treatment after assessment. The aircraft had been dispatched for the flight under minimum equipment list requirements with the APU disabled 2 days earlier. And we've seen this before. The deactivation of the APU was done after black smoke was observed from the APU after shutdown at the gate. A third captain on the previous day, January 19th, had already reported an odor in the cabin and produced a tech log entry. However, no maintenance action occurred, both after his flight on January 19th and January 20th. The following day, the flight crew arrived and found 2 open smell events noted in the tech log and requested maintenance. However, at Portland, the local contract maintenance was not permitted to do engine run-ups. Thus, on request by company maintenance, the flight crew attempted to isolate the problem by performing 3 engine runs prior to scheduled takeoff for their flight 1206 back to New York John F. Kennedy at 6:30 in the morning. During the first engine run, the captain of the flight checked the cabin and found the foul odor throughout the cabin, while the first officer, who remained in the cockpit, did not notice any odor. During the second engine run, the captain and first officer, according to court documents, both smelled a very apparent choking, burning odor like dirty socks or an oily smell. It was the worst toxic fume event claimant had experienced as a pilot. Both claimant, I guess the captain is a claimant here in the court proceeding, and the first officer immediately developed headaches and were coughing, had to leave the airplane to get fresh air. The first officer also had throat irritation in the form of dryness and hoarseness. The captain fell down on the jetway, and a mechanic ran up the stairs to the plane and said, "Oh my God, there's a haze in here." The captain and the first officer re-entered the plane for the third engine run, and the odor was again very apparent to both of them. The first officer was still coughing, and he had a headache focused on the front of his head, and pain was developing behind his right eye as if someone was poking him in the eye. Claimant was coughing, his eyes stung and watered, the right side of his body shook with tremors, and he had mild shortness of breath, headache, and congestion. He also had some ulnar aspect numbness in his forearm. What's that? Show me.
That's
Steph,
your funny bone. So your
funny
ulnar
bone.
nerve comes around your elbow and it goes to these 2 fingers here, your ring finger and your
like you bang
finger.
your funny bone and
you bang that's your ulnar nerve.
Ah, okay. So he had some of that going on, and that resolved after a couple of days. Ooh.
Doesn't make any sense to me, that part of it, but whatever.
So the captain shut the engines down.
Fell.
Pardon me?
Did it say he fell, or that was the?
Yeah, he did fall.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that
happened when he fell. Yeah,
could be.
That makes more sense.
The claimant, the captain, shut the engines down after the third run and instantly opened the flight deck windows to get fresh air. As the jet bridge was reattached, one of the in-flight crew members saw haze in the main cabin. Claimant contacted maintenance control, reported what happened. Maintenance agreed that burning oil probably leaked through an engine seal into the ventilation system. A February 22nd, 2017 engineering disposition report confirmed that the airplane APU was cracked and leaking oil with oil contamination into the ducting. That report of oil leakage in the engine and ventilation systems is very typical for fume event chemical exposure cases and confirmed a pathway for jet engine oil pyrolysis products to enter the cabin air. Neither the FAA nor the NTSB list either of the occurrences. No investigation was apparent. So I guess because this happened in Portland, Oregon, the captain and first officer filed claims with the Workers' Compensation Board of the state of Oregon. And I think based on looking at some of the findings, the court orders, and I'm not going to go into each and every one of these things, but I'm trying to summarize a little bit. I think that JetBlue said, yeah, this doesn't really apply, and basically said, no, we're not going to give the plaintiff, the claimant, the captain or the first officer, any money or back pay or anything. Again, I'm kind of trying to read between the lines here, but this was taken to court, and that's the reason why we're talking about it now, because just very recently, the court on the 31st of July said basically every single claim of compensation and other claims were overturned, and basically the court said to JetBlue, yeah, you have to do this. You can't just say we're denying the claim. So again, I'm not a lawyer, so I could read all these things, and maybe somebody that has a law degree could kind of make more sense of it. But
I think you got the gist of it, Jeff. All the findings were overturned, and JetBlue was required to compensate the crew. I mean, the question I would ask is why the guy, having developed these symptoms, went in for the third engine run. I'd say after the second one, I'd be going, nah, that's it.
Yeah, it looks like there's a problem. So
I feel like rubbish. It's broken.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that. That was after he already collapsed in the jetway?
Yeah.
Okay, and then they did another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I understand, yeah.
Maybe he was already.
Let me go. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I think that's as far as it goes, right? I don't think there's a third option.
Pretty scary stuff. We've heard about this kind of a situation before, and especially involving the APU. In fact, I think I recall something Captain Al had mentioned something about this is not an uncommon, or maybe you did, Captain Nick. It's not an uncommon thing for if a APU is taken out of service, they have to do certain things to prevent something like this from happening. Maybe
I'm not familiar with what they are required to do, but certainly you can end up with oil still residual still in the air conditioning ducts, so that it can continue to be drawn into the aircraft even after the APU's been not used by the engine air conditioning feed, because eventually you get to the point where the galleries all come together. It doesn't matter what the supply is, whether it's engine or APU, you're still going to use that residual oil, still going to be there. The interesting thing I thought from this story was the final bit, which was from the weekly update from your JetBlue Master Executive Council, which is presumably their union council, which said that they mentions the captain was exposed to fumes whilst performing an engine run-up. As a result of the fumes event, he has had numerous health problems, been out on medical leave for months, and may never return to the flight deck. Ooh. So that's a pretty serious event as far as he's concerned.
Yeah, very serious. Wow.
Yeah, it's our union finally got us to be able to actually turn down doing engine runs altogether. We just don't do them, period.
Yeah.
Because you just open yourself up to so many things going wrong, from this kind of stuff to, damage to the engine, or even injury to maintenance personnel, and then you're liable for it. So it's just
it's an interesting point you bring up. I wish I'd had that advice when I was a very junior captain. We pushed back and started, and as soon as I tried to advance the throttles to taxi the aircraft once, one of the engines failed. Got an ECAM warning, engine failed, the engine wound down. So we eventually got ourselves dragged back onto the stand, and the engineers came on board, full aircraft, full of passengers. And they looked at me and said, well, can you just start that engine up and show us what happened? So I said, yeah, okay. So I fired up the engine, and then they started playing with the throttles, and the fault reoccurred. But now you mentioned that, Rick, I'm going, why was I starting that engine? It's had an engine failure. I should be out of the flight deck. If you want to start the engine with the airplane full of passengers, you do it. But if that engine gave way and it had disintegrated, perhaps caught a fire or whatever.
And I'll tell you what,
sitting in the hot seat.
And that goes for absolutely everything. We had an issue last week with a hydraulic leak, the right hydraulic system that it operates. It ended up being a faulty anti-skid valve, which is tied to the parking brake. And so maintenance, they were doing. We show up to the airplane. They were working on it, and we ended up taking a pretty hefty delay, which actually had to put us back into rest because we were going to time out. And then obviously Sydney has their curfew at 2300 local, and then Tokyo.
That's the reason why he couldn't be on the show with us last episode.
Exactly right. We took a delay, and then we couldn't do it. And so here's maintenance working on the problem, and I'm sitting in my seat because I'm thinking these guys are going to get the problem fixed, and it's we're going to be fine. And then I see the engineers downstairs by the main landing, the left main landing gear there, up in the wheel well, with flashlights and all sorts of things and ladders and stuff. And then the engineer and the flight deck up with me, he asked me to pressurize the right hydraulic system, and I'm going, you know what? I haven't signed for the jet yet. I haven't looked at the book yet, and this is still your jet. So I got up from my seat and I had him, you go ahead, pressurize everything you have to pressurize, work the parking brake yourself, and let me know when it's done. It's just one of those things where you don't want to open yourself up to something going wrong and then you being liable for it. So
yeah, don't want it to be your liability for sure.
Exactly right. That's one of the things. I mean, I remember the first time when I first upgraded to captain, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from anyone was to always think like a lawyer. Always think like a lawyer. Just kind of anticipate that, no matter what.
Good advice.
Which is right thinking, because we love the lawyers. All right.
What do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
A good start?
Yay.
Bam.
Wow.
All right.
All right. And if you're a lawyer, you can send your feedback to Nick at Airline Pilot Guy, or I'm offended at Airline Pilot Guy.
I'm an offended lawyer at airlinepilotguy.com. All right, moving on quickly. Saw this, and many of you who are members of the Experimental Aircraft Association, or the EAA, received that in your email inbox, very likely. Support the spirit of aviation, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Our surprise special auction is now open for bids, and you won't want to miss your chance at this once-in-a-lifetime package. If you want to acquire one of the most unique and sought-after type ratings, this package may be just for you. No, it's not the Airbus 320. It is, with only 2 available for bidding, the B-25 second-in-command type rating package. Allows you to acquire a second-in-command type rating at the controls of a World War II bomber, the B-25. It includes 8 hours of ground school instruction with EAA's ground school instructor and 3 hours of dual instruction with EAA's CFII, MEI, B-25 type-rated instructor. This package is also all-inclusive, meaning your transportation, lodging, and meals are paid for. And the bid opens, or no, the bid's now open and closes at noon on August 24th, which is about 3-4 days away from when we're recording the show right now.
4 days.
4 days. And then there's a little bit more information here that I pulled up regarding the airplane, and a little bit more information about the North American B-25 Mitchell medium bomber. So we'll have all that information in the show notes. If you, now I'm not clear if you have to be an EAA member. You probably do, but if you're going to bid $20,000 plus for this package, you could probably afford the $75 or whatever it is to join the EAA.
I wonder if they give you the Jimmy Doolittle endorsement where you take off from a carrier.
I don't, they do mention Jimmy Doolittle here in the Doolittle Tokyo raid, but there's no mention of actually taking off or landing on an aircraft carrier. Mm-hmm. So I don't think
to be fair,
that
even Jimmy didn't have to land on the damn
that's
carrier.
right.
Exactly. He just took off from it.
I mean, that was hard enough.
Yeah, well, if he was anything or anybody, he would have landed the darn thing on the carrier too. Oh, and by the way, if you feel like you might need additional instruction, it's available at a rate of $3,500 per hour.
Ooh, well, wow. Maybe not if you feel like you need additional instruction.
Yeah,
they feel like you need additional instruction to get that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not comfortable.
Those 3 hours didn't quite do it. So just be a few more hours if you don't mind writing that check.
Please
hand over your credit card. We're just going to just leave it open.
You're probably going to need a couple of extra hours. So just start with $10,000 in addition to that.
And I don't think they make level D simulators for B-25. So
no,
probably not.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. You don't see this kind of thing very often. 2 of these. So
it's
get your bids
really
in
cool
right
about
now,
that,
folks.
yeah.
When I pulled this thing up at the time, the current bid was $20,200, and the starting bid for the second one is $20,000. So get at it.
Big
or
money.
If you feel like you don't want to do that and you want to contribute to the APG, we do have the coffee fund. Don't forget about that.
I mean, if you want to give us 20 grand, we're
We're
very
not going to
grateful.
stop you.
But just saying, it might be a little easier on your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Also for a good cause.
Yes.
We're not charity.
Well, it probably wouldn't be quite as fun as flying in a B-25, but oh yeah, and we thank you for mentioning that we are not a charity. So
No.
all contributions are not tax deductible.
That's right.
Yeah, but maybe you're right, Liz. If for $20,000, I would probably go through the process of making us a nonprofit. So, anywho, Jay, an American. No, this is.
It's a
wow.
local story.
This is so, and you know the local news outlets there in Charlotte are just right on top of this stuff, right?
Yeah, they're. Oh yeah. Oh,
Is that supposed to be a kangaroo?
Looks a little like something else to me, but
it looks more
maybe
like
part of a kangaroo.
Looks more like an erect something. Anyway, we're talking about the little image of
It'll
the
be
flight
in the show
path.
notes.
Still,
What's
yeah, you look in the show
CLT
notes.
stand for?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Just asking for a friend.
Actually, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to read this one? Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to find the right thing to play.
Family show.
There we go.
Gentlemen, family show.
Okay. American Airlines Flight 567 left from Phoenix, Arizona, and was scheduled to land in Charlotte at 1:57 p.m., North Carolina. The flight missed its approach.
Did it? Yeah. Okay.
At Charlotte Douglas International Airport, had to conduct a go-around before landing safely.
Say, did it catch up to it? It missed it.
So the let me play the audio from this. I think this will help kind of set up this whole thing. It's early in the morning on
no, it's not. It's
whatever day that was.
1:57 p.m.
Oh. Never
It's
mind.
definitely the
It was
afternoon.
early in
There's
the morning.
thunderstorms.
There was early in the morning when they left Arizona. But when they
we're
arrived,
3 hours behind everybody here.
yeah, okay. When they arrived, it was perfect time for thunderstorms. And if you look at the little flight path picture,
Yeah, I believe this was last Wednesday, and yeah, that's about right.
yeah, there was some thunderstorm activity just to the west of the Charlotte International Airport. And let's take a listen to the ATC audio.
Four right on Charlie, ground point 9, and no delay off, please.
All right, Charlie 4 right on Charlie, ground point 9, no delay, 56.
American 2731, runway 18 left, clear for takeoff, traffic 2 out, no delay on the roll.
Clear for takeoff, right left, American 2731.
No delay on the roll. Hurry. Minimum spacing. Oh, what happened? I had some sound effects in this. Oh, darn. Yeah. Well, this is kind of showing you that some time elapsed between the time that he cleared the aircraft for takeoff and the other one was 2 miles out for landing.
557, go around, climb maintain 4000, turn left heading 090.
Go up, American 557, 050 on the head.
090, American 567, 90 heading.
090 and up to 4000, American 557.
American 567, now traffic off for departure on now 737, no taxi. American 2731, traffic gauge 6 o'clock, just went around there eastbound now, climbing 4000, no taxi.
He's using the wrong call sign. He's saying 576 instead of 567.
A little dyslexic moment. It's
A
fine.
little bit of dyslexia. Darn it, I really need to find the one where I have my nice sound effects in there. Oh well, maybe I'll just have to put that in the audio only version. I had like a little what do they call those drums? Timpani drums, like drum roll, and then
like building the suspense.
Yeah, building the suspense, and then another little sound effect in there too. But oh well. All that work.
So really, this is only newsworthy because it was a slow news day.
Well, like,
I mean,
if they reported on every go around at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport, they'd have a lot of stuff to cover.
I believe something similar happened to a friend of ours, also in Charlotte, not very long ago either. If he's listening, maybe he can send in his version of events too, because it was basically the same thing.
Colonel Jeff, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's this kind of thing. So what happens here is that they're trying to get a whole bunch of airplanes off, the ground, and also recover airplanes at the same time. And it sounds to me like the first call was to somebody like, quickly get off at this next taxiway exit so that I can clear this other American flight for takeoff. And then when he gives them the takeoff clearance, especially when he says, no delay, in other words, okay, it's going to be tight. And so this guy's coming in, 567's coming in on a 2 mile or less now final, and watching the airplane that is on takeoff roll down the runway. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, is this going to work? And that's sure what the tower controller is doing too, going, okay, come on, get airborne, shoot, it's not going to work. 567 go around. And there's a little bit of a delay there in his reback. This is it's shocking to you. You're going, what? Go around? Really? And then, of course, he gets a vector off, so there's no conflict with the airplane that's taking off. And they warn, or the tower controller warns each airplane that, hey, you have somebody just lifting off, and you have another guy that was coming in for landing, but now they're on a go, but they're divergent, and it's not going to be a problem. And even the news report says the flight did a go around, which is not uncommon.
I don't even know why they picked up on this. Like, were they?
Well, it's usually when there's a reporter on the flight.
Exactly. I bet
who goes, wow, that's worth me writing down or whatever.
It was probably on the flight that had to go around.
Yeah.
There was a reporter at Fox 46 in Charlotte that was on the airplane. And it was just,
usually it.
They thought they were going to die, probably.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Going to die. Anyway, I did a little quick calculation here. An average speed of 140 knots indicated approach speed. You'd be covering 2.33 nautical miles per minute. And the time that elapsed between when the controller cleared that guy for takeoff and then they controlled the flight coming in for landing was like 35 seconds. And that would be about 1.36 nautical miles coverage. So in other words, that flight just about to land was less than a half a mile from touchdown. It may have worked out, but I don't think the tower controller was willing to.
Yeah, but at some point they can't take that.
Yeah, they're going to get a ding. They're going to.
Yeah, and there's another issue. What if the airplane that's taken off has to abort do a rejected takeoff, and then all of a sudden you find yourself behind them. I'm sure there's a certain amount of spacing
that they actually need.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, one of the things I kind of object, and I put in my little editorial comment in this report from Fox 46 is, they said the flight missed its approach. And I said, no, it didn't. And then they had to conduct a go around before landing safely. And I said, no, the air traffic control directed the go around. So in other words, a missed approach is usually because, you don't have all the information, all the visual cues to continue safely for landing. And then, or like you're still in the weather, and then you execute the missed approach procedure, which is very much like a go around. And so, I know, not expecting the journalist to get the terminology absolutely correct, but anyway.
Yeah.
There you
We're
go.
here to educate.
But right. The most important thing about this whole thing was this little picture of the flight path.
That's the real reason why this is included in the news.
Mm-hmm. So that's why.
And then finally, Air Force One, in this case, a U.S. Air Force C-32, or most people would look at it and say that's a Boeing 757. And the reason why it's Air Force One is because the President of the United States was aboard the airplane at the time. So that becomes Air Force One. Was nearly hit by what appeared to be a small drone as it approached an airport near Washington, D.C. on Sunday night, according to several people aboard. The device, which was yellow and black, shaped like a cross, was off of the right side of the plane. It was seen by several passengers on the jet, which occurred shortly before the plane touched down at 5:54 p.m. The Secret Service didn't immediately respond on Monday to a request to confirm the reports, and this is from Newsmax.com. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, which coordinates air safety or air security issues in North America, referred questions to the Secret Service. The Federal Aviation, we don't want to answer them. The Federal Aviation Administration referred the questions on the matter to the Air Force. Everybody is passing the buck on this one.
There you go.
While it has been notoriously difficult for aviation safety investigators to verify such fleeting events, it appears to be among the thousands of such safety events or incidents involving unmanned devices in the U.S. that have prompted calls by law enforcement and Homeland Security agencies for greater measures to rein in their use. And then it goes on to talk about, what the risks are of an airliner hitting a small drone and such. Anyway, it was just the last show we were talking about a helicopter, U.S. Air Force VIP helicopter was shot at and actually was hit by the bullet and injured one of the people aboard the helicopter. And now we have a drone. Now, this might be, no connection whatsoever, but just interesting that we have a couple events, similar events, risks toward military airlift in the Washington, D.C. area.
You think it's a conspiracy, Jeff?
I think it might be. That's what we're going to say.
Definitely a connection.
It's a connection. I think that the bullet that was shot at the helicopter came from this little drone. That's what I think.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, so it's a fancy drone.
Yes.
Weapon-bearing drone.
And I'm just kidding, of course. Okay. Well, probably not much else to say there. Just wanted to look at that really pretty picture of the C-32 in VIP colors.
I don't blame you. It's a good-looking jet.
It is. All right. With that, I think we need to go ahead and get on.
Oh, we're not doing the Manila door incident?
Well, okay, we can since you just mentioned
got pulled off.
I forgot to tell everybody we're not going to do it.
Oh, okay. You can cut that bit out in post.
Yeah, I could, or we could just quickly cover it, knock it out. It's really not much to say about it. Looks like this happened in Manila. A 777-300ER was at the gate, and it's an Emirates version, and it was damaged at the Manila airport after a jet bridge malfunctioned. Sure, that's what they all say. Looks like it tore the door off. I mean, that's a powerful jetway.
I know. I was a bit surprised at that myself.
That's a beefy door on that airplane, right, Rick?
Yeah, it is a beefy door. It's a beefy door. It's a beefy hinge, and it tore it right off. So that tells you, it's. I wonder what happened to the thing. But for it to just rip the door like that says a lot about those jet bridges.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I mean, it looks like it's definitely sitting up too high on the,
Yeah, you think?
Like a lot. Yeah,
a lot too high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it just scooped up that open
just
door.
Like, whoop.
And wow, I'm sure that it must have lifted up the airplane quite a bit before the hinge broke.
No, I don't think it got to that point, but
no.
No. I think the
door gave way first.
The door must have given way, and I think it has to be built with a. Actually, I know for a fact it's built with a weak point in the hinge, so that if that happens, the frame itself is not warped because it's a plug type door. So, yeah. So, but still, it doesn't. It's still very expensive fix.
Oh yes, the
like
crew probably rubbed their hands. The crew probably rubbed their hands with glee and went to collect their allowances for another week in the hotel.
We're going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that it's payroll deduct for the employee operating the jetway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can cover that.
$50 per paycheck for the rest of their life and the lives of all their
families and your families' families.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long time before they pay that off.
Ugh. All right, that's it. I think now it's time for one of the best parts of the show. My favorite, actually. Well, other than the plain tales, which is that time in the show where we kind of get all caught up with each other and what's been going on. So let's start with a person who hasn't been with us for quite a while, and that person, Miami Rick. How you been?
I've been good. Just like I shared a little while ago, doing a lot of flying between Tokyo and Sydney. We have a base out in Tokyo where we do the bulk of the DHL flying down to Australia and New Zealand, and so did a lot of that. Obviously, on the other, the backside of the clock, I guess, on the when it was daytime over there, it was nighttime over here. So it was a little difficult to coordinate when I'm on the opposite side of the world. But it was good. A lot of good flying. It was interesting in that 4 of those 6 round trips I did, I flew with 2 other captains, which is something that's not doesn't happen usually. So
they
that
just
was
didn't trust you, or what was the?
Somebody didn't trust somebody there. Apparently,
got to keep a really close eye on this guy.
So it was kind of interesting walking around with 2 other captains, but it's good. I knew all of them. Actually, one of the 2 guys was in my upgrade class as we went through upgrade together. So that was interesting as well. The flight itself was great. About 10 hours each way. So it's about as long as you want to be in a 7.6 without any proper rest facilities, kind of like the 7.4 has, where you have a bunk and stuff like that. So it's a little uncomfortable about the 8th or so hour.
Do you have any kind of a special seat set up, or?
Yeah, there's a seat. There's a seat. I guess the first observer seat, the one that kind of sits behind and between the captains and the FO. That seat it reclines quite a bit, and then it's on a diagonal track, so you can push it back, and then it swivels 90 degrees. So it's kind of out of the way, and you can stretch that seat and recline that seat quite a ways, but still it's not.
But you're in the cockpit the whole time, right?
So yeah, you're in the cockpit the whole time.
So you're hearing all the noises going on in the cockpit and everything else.
Well, yeah, that and then you have and during the daytime you really can't get much rest because the sun is out and it's very, very bright in there, and so it's.
I'm surprised there's not like a special little place just like after the cockpit bulkhead for.
Well, some airplanes.
There is. It's called the toilet.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to get any rest in there.
Exactly, unless you want to, just be standing up the whole time.
But they do call it the rest room. Sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah,
if you
a valid point.
If you take it literally, But
I was just doing as it told me.
Exactly. Some 7.6s do have a rest facility. In fact, some of the land 7.6s, and actually Land Cargo owns the supplemental type certificate for the to adapt a container as a crew rest area, and I believe UPS uses that now for their long haul 7.6 operations. So they have that. And what else? And well, I was saying the flying itself was interesting during the daytime, going down through the equator, because Tokyo is about 33 degrees north and Sydney is about 35 degrees south, something like that. So you're going through about almost.
I just know it's on the same parallel as Charlotte.
Yeah, 35. Exactly. So you're going through about 70 degrees of latitude there, right through the ITZ, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. And this time of year,
I love that place.
Very, very, very active. So during the daytime, it's quite interesting. And it's just south of Guam. And when you go through and over the top of Papua New Guinea, that high terrain and that warm ocean and then the temperatures make for spectacular cumulonimbus clouds that, go up to 50,000 or so feet. So there's no getting over top of those. So you got to find yourself a way of getting around them without burning too much fuel, because you're right there with the fuel. So it's I tell you, it's an art getting around that and getting down with the required fuel. So but it's part of the operation. At nighttime is a little easier because at least what I like to do is I like to fly with the lights basically off, no cockpit lights on, and then the screens at a minimum, so that you can acclimate your sight to it being dark outside, to let that rhodopsin build up in your eyes, and we had we flew with full moon a night, and with a very bright moon the rest of the night. So it's basically like flying during the day. It was, and that makes it easier to get around clouds and stuff. So other than that, layover in Sydney was how can I say this politely? Nice. We weren't allowed to leave the room.
Uneventful.
Completely uneventful. I tell you, completely uneventful. It was, although they did put, I mean, they do put us up at a very, very nice hotel right in the beach there, in oceanfront rooms with a balcony and stuff. So it was nice. We were able to see everyone else having fun while we were stuck in the room, not being able to go outside. And Tokyo was fine. People are just going about their business normally. Things are back to normal there. So that's what I've been up to this whole time.
Very good. Well, we're glad that it was an uneventful trip.
Oh, it was. It really was.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Rick. Great to have you with us. We're going to go with Steph because I'm getting the sense that she's getting ready to leave us soon. So,
I've got about an hour. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're good. Yeah.
Let's talk.
I'm not ditching you just yet. That's why we started earlier. So,
all right.
A little bit earlier anyway. What have I been up to? So we kind of have alluded to the weather in Charlotte. I think we were doing that actually before the show started, but yeah, it's been it's just that time of year where there's potential for a lot of moisture in the air. So we get these really crazy afternoon thunderstorms that start building up about this time of day. I'm sure if I pull up the radar right now, there will be some cumulonimbus development in the area. And so it usually rains in the afternoon, depending on where you are. Kind of hit or miss, but usually I seem to be somewhere where it rains. Pretty good thunderstorms. And then it kind of leaves the ground saturated and it cools off just a little bit overnight. And then in the morning, as the sun starts to come up, the dew point and the temperature like to meet each other. And then you get fog until about noon. And then the thunderstorms start again. So it's this like never ending cycle of like really terrible visibility, which doesn't make for great flying conditions. So not a lot of flying this past week because it's been, just either foggy or stormy, one or the other. So, but that's okay. Just been, I'm trying to, I know I've been mentioning that work's been super busy. So it seems like it's calmed down there just a tiny bit. So that's been good. Kind of getting just everything else in my life back in order. Getting back into working out regularly, eating normally, not eating a bunch of junk and fast food, and had a good talk actually last night on the phone with my running coach about how to build things back up, because when all the races disappeared off my calendar, I kind of just found other activities to do and wasn't doing a lot of that. But
eating donuts. Yeah,
but I feel a lot better when I'm working out regularly. So getting back on that train and just trying to manage time as well as possible. So that's kind of uneventful, but I blame the weather and the months of July and August for storm activity.
Looks right now, looking at my
radar. That's good because I got to get in my car and drive here in about an hour. And
yeah, it looks pretty calm right now, actually, for Charlotte. So maybe it's going to get worse very quickly.
Yeah, they were supposed to be. So the forecast for this week kind of called for increasing thunderstorm chance throughout the week. Kind of each day was a little bit worse on the forecast. Mm-hmm. But there's really not much going on.
No, just slide it over to where I am, and
that's what's.
Yeah. It's especially south of us. It's really looking pretty nasty. Anyway, only a 70% of thunderstorms later today.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, anyway, not super exciting, but just been hanging out and doing the usual stuff, and good to be here with you guys as always.
Excellent. And Captain Nick, how have you been, sir?
I'm surviving. Thanks very much, Jeff. I was expecting a kind of busy week. The bowls match that got rained off, had some torrential rain. I had a photo shoot booked tomorrow. Sadly, the guy's little dog is taking a turn for the worse, so that's been postponed. However, I have got another photo shoot on Sunday, so that should keep me busy, and then a couple of bowls matches next week, and with any luck I'll get to meet Pilot Pip and Cap Now next week, possibly with airplanes involved. I'll tell you more about that when we get to the show next week. But the most important thing that happened really was this morning. Got a call from one of our listeners who just happened to be landing at a local airfield and asked me if I'd like to get together for breakfast. So we did, and we recorded some audio.
All right. Shall I play it right now?
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Here we go.
Jeff, this is Captain Nick here, and I'm in a appropriately named hotel. It's the Aviator Hotel at Farnborough, of all places. Now, you've been here, and we'd all just like to hear you pronounce Farnborough one more time, please.
Farnborough.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. But anyway, look, I'm here at the invitation of the lovely Graham Figg. Now, Graham got in touch with me because he was coming across and landing at Farnborough all the way from the States. But I'll let him tell you about that story. And we've had a lovely breakfast together, which I still have to pay for. And, I think I might have had my breakfast bought for me. Free breakfast. Free.
See
anyway.
it as part of the coffee fund.
That's very kind. Anyway, I'll let Graham tell you about himself and what he's doing here in Farnborough.
Good morning, listeners, and to the APG crew. You really have sustained me through the COVID lockdown. I've been listening to a lot of your episodes and loved you all just like family to me. And such a privilege to come and meet Captain Nick this morning, and hopefully Jeff sometime soon as well. What brought me here to Farnborough was Gulfstream G4 that I now fly. I was flying in the airlines all my life from a tender age of 23 years old in South Africa, and then moved over to Canada from there into Europe, where I flew for KLM. Beautiful job flying 737 around Europe. 33 different destinations. I became aficionado on coffee, not so much beer. I know you guys are big beer drinkers, but red wine and coffee. And now, because KLM have a mandatory retirement age of 56 years old for their pilots, I managed to get a situation in the United States flying corporate jets, and I really thrived and loved every minute of it. Right now, I'm flying a Gulfstream G4. And yesterday we flew on a very unusual route from Bermuda up to Farnborough. Because of the COVID and the lack of traffic, really, we just crossed one other aeroplane on our whole route across the ocean. It was very remarkable. Landing here, checked into the Aviator, and of course I asked for a room with an airport view.
I love it.
I really have embraced aviation since the age of 13. 42 years of aviation, 26,000 hours, all really extremely pleasurable. Met lovely, lovely people across the walk of life, and been very fortunate. Coming across your podcast has been a highlight in the last year or two. And like I say, it feels like I've joined a large family. Thank you for having me, and a pleasure to meet Captain Nick this morning in London.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much indeed. And this airplane you fly, I was fascinated. Now, it's an executive jet, but it's a Cat D. I wonder if you could explain to the listeners what that means and how the hell you managed to get an aircraft like yours up into Category D.
Well, Category D is determined by weight, which determines your approach speed. And we're at high gross weight. We're above 140 knots of approach speed, VREF. And as a result, we fall into Category D. Most airline or airport approaches, instrument approaches, are designated Category A, B, C, or D. And around the States where I fly, to many, many non-towered airports as well, there is no approach published for Category D aeroplane, which means we have to fly visual conditions, It's very fascinating because you fly into non-towered airports where you set your own margins. You're descending into the hills of Wyoming, for instance. You're talking to Salt Lake City, and eventually you're going to lose them, and you might have to close your flight plan by telephone after landing. And all that time on the descent and until touchdown, and until you make that phone call, they have to protect the airspace around you and keep it free of other traffic. So Category D can work for you or against you. It does require higher approach speeds, longer runways, and but it's worth the trouble, and it's an amazing airplane. It's the iconic business jet that our airplane is 19 years old. It's got 10,000 flying, 500 hours on it, and about 5,000 cycles. So it's been well used in its life, and it's still extremely well maintained. We're a bunch of 4 pilots flying it, 2 full-time mechanics, extremely well maintained by an owner who absolutely loves and adores his airplane.
It's interesting. The main reason I asked that was that when I flew the A340, that was Category D. But when I moved on to the twin-engine A330, even though it's a very big airliner, it was only Category C. So when you mentioned, as we were talking over breakfast, that you had to do a Cat D approach, I was a little taken aback. A lot of our listeners, that will be something you're not interested in, but I promise you, from an aviator's point of view, that really perked my interest. Now, you do a great job flying all over the world. You never quite know where you're going to be next. What are some of your favorite memories from the places you've been to?
I think, Nick, the most challenging airport I fly into is something I fly into regularly in the United States, probably 2-3 times a year at least. It's called Aspen, Colorado, which is a towered airport, does not have a Category D approach. In fact, there's no approach that we can do besides just a visual approach. However, you descend into a box canyon. The arrival is, the published approach is published. It's a localizer approach onto the runway. And the missed approach is a different back course localizer off a different transmitter off a different mountain. So you're descending into this box canyon, and all the way in, they're saying, just move a little bit to the north because we're launching 2 aircraft at you. You land on runway 15 and you take off on runway 33, and it's quite an experience.
That sounds pretty testing.
Yes, you've got to understand that it's got a very, very high approach glide slope angle, path of 6.59 degrees. So if you're not fully established on final 15 miles out in landing configuration, you won't be able to, really make a decent approach. The other interesting airport I've been to around the world is Kathmandu in Nepal. And that was a fascinating, but not as challenging actually as Aspen in Colorado or Telluride is in Colorado. These airports in the United States, which I consider to be the mecca of aviation, the United States, there's a lot of very challenging flying, and it requires a lot of preparation and a lot of skill.
That's fantastic. I'd love to be able to chat to you for hours, but I know Captain Jeff is hopefully going to meet up with you. So we'll hear more of you on the next show, and I'm sure you'll be able to talk a bit more about that with him. It's been great meeting you. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me up, and a pleasure to chat to you this morning.
It's a privilege to meet you, Captain Nick, and to all APG crew and listeners. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your family.
Yeah, our pleasure's all ours. And back to you in the studio, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Captain Nick.
My pleasure, Captain Jeff. What a lovely guy, though. Absolutely brilliant. Full of stories. I mean, he has really had an interesting aviation life. And, we could have chatted on and on and on for hours. Sadly, he had to get upstairs. We left at the last possible moment. He had to rush upstairs, get changed, and then jump in the transport and head out to the airport. But it was an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much indeed for shouting me breakfast. Let's do it again sometime, and let's have some beers, and this time it'll be on me.
Or red wine.
Beverage of choice.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Coffee and red wine. That's an odd mix, but there you go.
That's a good mix.
Hey, nothing wrong with it.
Look forward to meeting up with Graham on, looks like Saturday, midday. We're going to do lunch somewhere in Atlanta.
Oh,
So,
lovely. Oh, that'll be good.
So
Very nice.
Hopefully,
Nice.
I had no idea about how early
56.
pilots,
Wow.
KLM pilots
That's
have
like
to retire.
air traffic control
that's
here
really
in the US,
early.
I think.
56. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Still a young person.
Wow.
Well, maybe not young person.
I'm guessing
very
that
much so.
was the old contract. I don't suppose they're on the same contract now. I wouldn't have
I don't know.
thought, because most airlines have moved up to 65 now.
Yeah. And
Most have, but I guess if it's an individual airline,
Yeah.
you know,
But
Yeah.
I would think that they were suffering shortages of pilots. I'm not sure what the situation is at KLM. They'd probably be encouraged to increase the age a bit, right?
Well, like I imagine if when even the king is a pilot,
That's
it
right.
must because the king of isn't he a 737 pilot? He used to
think
be
so.
a
Yeah.
I believe so.
Fokker 100 pilot.
Mhm.
So
I think he's on the 7.3.
something like that.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, there we go. Yeah, and interesting about the categories as well. I would bet, I don't know this for sure, but that RJ200 probably is a Cat D because based on the approach speed of the airplane. I believe if you're more than 140 knots or higher for your final approach speed, then you're into the category D.
141 to 165, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the 727 was a category C/D, which meant that on straight-in approaches, we were a category C, but if we were going to do a circling approach, we were category D because we had to increase our reference speed by a certain amount for maneuvering, and that threw us over the next category.
Mm-hmm.
But as Captain Nick mentioned, most of the airliners out there are category C.
Yeah.
But,
121 to 140 on the approach speed, right?
something like that,
Yeah.
if you say so.
I've
looking
landed
that
the 74-8 at over 100 and I guess categories E speeds.
Ooh,
Now
now
you're,
Oh,
when you're coming in
Wow.
when you're coming in heavy and it's gusty out, you land the flaps 25 landing at max landing weight. It puts you in category E. It VREF plus 5 over 166 knots. So it's quite interesting. Yeah. But that's the only time. But otherwise, it's just a category D like every other big jet.
Very interesting. All right. Well, for me, it's just been same old routine. In fact, it's just weird because this morning when I got up, I'm thinking, wait, today we're going to be doing a show today. It just feels like we just, of course, after we record a show, that doesn't end for me. It's just like, getting not only me, the entire crew, working on, all the post editing things that we work on. And Captain Nick starts working on artwork. By the way, brilliant artwork for the last episode. We decided to entitle the show the Passive Aggressive Bunch. So if any of you are familiar with the show, The Brady Bunch, we kind of, or Captain Nick kind of took a design cue from that and had us all take various posed
normal pictures
in a normal passive aggressive look.
It didn't take much. It wasn't stretching the imagination much to get those shots.
Steph, it was just pretty much a normal picture of Steph. And it was a lot of fun.
It was brilliant. I had plenty of good stuff to work with.
Like practiced.
Yeah, we did. We were kind of mentioning and the fact that it looks so natural for Steph. She goes, yeah, because that's pretty much the way my face looks most of the week.
All this having to wear masks and things most of the time. It's actually good for me because it hides some of the facial expressions that I really don't want slipping out sometimes. Yeah, just keep this much of my face covered, and then you have to just interpret from the eyes.
Anyway, we got that kind
Unless
of stuff
you're wearing
going on.
suglasses, then everybody's
then
yeah.
I'm good to go. Yeah.
you're good to go.
So that's the sort of thing that goes on between shows, getting the artwork for the show, and I'm working on editing and such. And then before you know it, it's like, oh, it's time for us to do another show, which is good. I'm good for another 6 months of first class FAA medical qualifications.
I thought you could just say holiday. Another 6 months. off.
Well, I'm ready for that too, but I don't think it's going to be another 6 months. I think it's going to be. I just noticed in my electronic flight bag, all of a sudden now I'm starting to see some manuals for the 717. So that's usually an indication that I'm.
They're just like
closer to
sneaking them in
training.
there like one by one. They're like, maybe if we just, he'll get the hint that he should start reading these. Maybe a little study. Maybe a little study.
I do need to do that. So I'm assuming that I'm still going to training in October on the 717. We'll see.
It's not that far off.
But I'm enjoying the time off for sure. So that's good. All right. And so really that's pretty much it for me. So
We'll have a nice meet up with Graham tomorrow.
I plan
I'm
on
sure
it.
he'll enjoy his company. He's
Or
a fine
Saturday.
chap. Oh, sorry. Yes, Saturday.
I just don't want to confuse Jeff since he didn't know what day of the week
He's
it was
easily
to begin with.
confused, I know.
Yeah. Did he freeze on us?
Where am I? Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've gone very still.
You can still hear me though. My voice isn't frozen.
Yes.
That's true.
Okay. So I'll just I'll keep going. And then I guess we can, I don't know what we can throw up there for the coffee fund. I don't think you want to see my frozen picture the whole time. So, or should I try to work on this right now and get this fixed? Do I need to take myself out and then put myself back in?
Right, maybe.
Up
All
to
right,
you.
let me try
A
that.
bit nosy, aren't you?
Nope.
That doesn't work.
Well, that didn't work. That's weird.
Unplug your camera and plug it in again.
Oh, I hate to do that, but okay. Hang on.
I'm assuming I've got time to grab a beer.
Oh, at least.
Wow, sure.
Come back with a
Always
case
have
like I
time.
could do with
I
one.
know. Yeah.
Now you all are frozen.
No, we're good.
We're not
good.
frozen. We're
No, I mean
perfect.
to me you are.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, we're not
Yeah.
frozen to each other.
Nope.
Very good. All
We're
right,
defrosted.
What's going on here? Let me see.
Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll be right back.
All right.
Devices not connected. The show is all mine. It's mine, I tell you.
My device is connected.
Ah, yes, hello. Oh, still frozen.
Wow. This is nice. Can you hear me?
Yes, still hear you.
Okay. Well,
Well, he moved, but still frozen. Just different frozen.
He's shifting around the block.
wow.
That's a little less disconcerting because at least he's looking at the camera as opposed to just like,
Yes, oh, he moved a little bit there.
yeah, just a little bit.
It's just twitched. Oh, and now he's like in slow motion.
I should probably just stare at the.
Now he looks like he's spitting tobacco. Oh no!
I'll turn off the green screen just in case.
Oh well, it changed.
It picked up on that, but there you go.
Oh yeah, now you're going.
Yeah.
Well done. But you're not
Am I?
lip syncing.
Yeah, you're
Well,
just the timing's off.
Say something, Alan, and watch your lips move.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh no, that's fine. That's
Well,
works.
I have
That's
this.
good.
I have the screen that's showing, the settings screen that won't
Yeah.
disappear, and everything is. Oh, look at that! Now I think I'm back.
Yeah, and that's much better. The
Very, very.
You've
strange.
brushed your
What's going
hair
on?
as well.
I didn't, but okay.
Well, it looks like you have.
just with that other background because he had that little like
Yeah.
halo effect going on. It changed the shape of his. Just recently had a haircut. Is that?
I did, yeah. On I think Monday. Yes, after I came back from my medical examination, I decided, you know what? Got an FAA medical. I'm going to go get a haircut. Because they just go together.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think everyone has the same.
Is that you saying that, Liz? Yeah. So I splurged because my blood pressure was really good, And I thought, well, I know what to do about that. And I went to the Varsity and had a chili steak, a chili dog, onion rings, and a PC.
That's just like the green light, the stamp of approval. Like,
Exactly.
blood pressure's good.
Yeah.
Don't know how long that's going to
all
last.
greasy bad things.
So yeah, so I went ahead and knocked that out, and then I drove home and thought, yep, haircut time. So got a haircut. There we go. So I am back, and I think now that I'm back, we can do the coffee fund. So here we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee? No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea.
I love the APG
Community. Coffee and tea, and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. All right, the Coffee Fund is your way, dear listener, to contribute to our fine show. And you can do that becoming part of the Coffee Fund cadre or the Coffee Bar Club. And we call that the Coffee Fund. And that's the reason why we're singing the Java Jive. And since the last episode, we have a couple of recurring donations via the Classic Fund method from Chris Randall and David Lieb, and a one-off donation from George Putock. So thank you very much, George, Chris, and David, for using the Coffee Fund Classic method. The other way to do it is to become a patron of the show at patreon.com. And got a great group of folks over there who pledge a certain amount every episode to help support the show and help us offset expenses like web hosting and audio file hosting, equipment, and coffee and beer and other good stuff and feedback. No, not feedback. Meetups. That's what I'm trying to think of. So anyway, if you want to be part of that group, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. Instructions on how you can join that great group of folks. You'll be glad you did. Thank you.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, time for feedback. And we can probably knock out a couple of them before we get to the best part of the show, which everybody knows is the old pilot's plain tales. But let's start with this one. We have Rick here. We've been kind of pushing these aside, waiting for you to return. And this first one is from Gloucestershire Sauce William. That's what he calls himself. He says, following on from the recent discussions on modified 747s, I thought I might chime in with a strange 747 I saw on Top Gear. In various episodes, this plane is visible while a car is being driven around their home airfield test track. I've attached a photo of this airplane with engines resembling those of a B-52. Any ideas on the history of this aircraft? Thanks for the great show. Gloucestershire Sauce William. I don't think he probably really calls himself that. Only when he sends it.
That's on his birth certificate.
APG. You think
That's
so?
exactly it.
So,
First name
on his passport too. It's, that's his,
he tried starting up a competitive company for the Worcestershire sauce, but
didn't work.
Didn't work.
Huh.
So he stuck with it.
It's just a lesser known variant. I mean, you can only find it. So it's very exclusive. Very exclusive.
Must be.
So
it's like the Grey Poupon of. No.
So looking at the photo here, I should probably share that with our listeners so they can kind of see what we're looking at. Why is it doing that again? My computer, I should probably have restarted my computer before I did the show. Try the share screen again. Probably a big mistake.
Uh-oh.
Has your computer been talking to my computer? Are they?
Maybe. I don't know. It's in simpatico
gremlins?
with Steph's computer. I'm not sure if I can get the. No, this is about as big as I can make it.
She said.
I don't. Everybody said that's what she said, and I was actually trying to file. I was playing that at the same time.
That's what he said to her.
Well, I hope
ready
you all
for
have
that
fun.
one.
Yeah.
Family show.
So
we're family show.
We're looking at this photograph, and I'm not able to get the photograph any larger. But if you have any suggestions on how I can get that thing larger, just let me know.
Pill?
Yeah, little pink
I think there's
pill.
a physician that you need to see about that. Just gonna...
You try a lollipop stick.
It's blood flow problem usually.
Yeah, I love this view right here. I love the way the feedback's covering up Nick's face.
That's right.
There we go. So we're looking at a 747, and I swear to me, I'm thinking, well, this must be photoshopped or something, but maybe not. I don't. Do you know anything about? Have you seen this 747?
I have, and I believe it was just it was a movie prop for a 007 movie. It clearly never flew in this configuration with the engine pods there, and I don't know what those are. The tips there looks like pods
Fuel.
for no, either that or that's where
Radar?
you keep the refueling basket for
okay.
for refueler type aircraft. I don't know, but no,
Could be
it
anything.
certainly never flew like that. No, it's not a production 747 by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, I think actually those double engines were fitted for a movie called Skyfleet S570. The airframe was used in Casino Royale. Yes, you're quite right. But I think it was the B-52 style engines were for that Skyfleet movie. But
okay.
Used to be a British Airways airframe, apparently. It's a 200 variant. Was the city of Birmingham. And then European Air Charter picked it up, and then Air Atlanta Europe. And then its last flight, they flew it in a Dunsfold, and it sat there as this it's quite often used. Apparently they try to con people into believing it was a 727 at one point.
Good.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
A little different.
Very similar. Very similar.
But no, yeah, the dead giveaway that it's a 200. You look at the wing to body fairing. It's not as clean and as sleek as the 400 is. On the Dash 400, the wing to body fairing, the wing basically molds itself into the fuselage, whereas here, it's you can see it's quite an angle there, 37.5 degrees in fact. But it's very very.
Let me look at it. It looks to me like
it's
yeah.
No, that's what it is. Trust me.
Between 37 and 38, probably.
Roughly. I mean, my eye calibration says that.
So,
but there's no transition there.
So I see this on Google now that you mentioned, Nick, Skyfleet S570, fictional prototype double-deck wide-body 4-engine jet airliner manufactured by Skyfleet Aeronautics. The aircraft first appeared in the 2006 James Bond film Casino Royale and was subsequently seen in the 2008 James Bond video game Quantum of Solace.
Now, when they did this, they obviously didn't realize the danger of putting engines in that configuration in case you get an uncontained engine failure.
Exactly.
You look at aircraft like the VC-10, they had to be really, really careful to try and make sure that the wall between the two engines was sufficiently strong so that one through a blade, it didn't go straight into the next engine and take them both out. And it's never a good idea to put your engines so close if you can avoid it.
Although I'll tell you, from having actually flown the thing and going through the certification process to become a pilot on it, the final maneuver in your proficiency check, right, and your type rating is an manual approach flown with 50% of your power loss. So basically only two good engines on one side. So it's actually a maneuver that we actually do there.
Yeah, I've had to do it in 340.
And it's not easy. It is not easy.
It's not pleasant. Because you've got committal heights where you have to make your decision, and once you pass that height, you're going to land regardless. And then, if the trainers or anything like you Rick, they then drive a fire truck onto the runway in front of you, and you've got to try and go around anyway.
Exactly right. And it's funny because on the actual checklist, I remember seeing one of the step after the whole thing is over. It says "go around is not recommended." So it's basically land. It can be done. It can be done, but good luck. It's one of those approaches that you want to fly this type of approach. The way I used to do it is I would always stay high on the profile, and I'm talking very high on the profile, so as to fly most of the thing at idle power, in which dissimilar thrust is not an issue anyway, until you get very, very close to the ground, and then you have to, put the power in, and by that point, it's time to put the gear down anyway, and you have enough energy. It's an exercise in energy management. Is what it is.
Yeah, exactly right.
You don't want to get behind the power
management.
curve.
Yeah. It's a clever trick if you do one nicely. It really, and if you pull one off nicely, you feel proud of yourself. Yeah,
and it's a spectacular explosion if you don't.
Exactly.
Just like Quantum of Solace or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try to do this next one quickly before we get to the plane tale. From Andy, he says, how well do large airliners deal with hills on taxiways? What are some U.S. airports with extreme slopes that you can think of? Captain Rick, I hope you're enjoying the hospitality of Cincinnati, as you are here often. Could you talk a little bit about what you know pertaining to the cargo expansions at CVG, Covington Field Airport?
So just call me Miami Rick. Now I'm calling me Captain Rick. As far as the expansions in CVG, I mean, it's so Amazon. It's going to be having they're building their main facility there, where they're going to consolidate. Just basically build up their entire operation there. The CVG airport has a lot of room for this type of expansion. Now there's another airport we're using just up the road, not up the road, but relatively close up in Wilmington, where some of the Amazon operations also being run out of. But once the facility in CVG is complete, which looks like it's going to be complete here, very, very soon. They're going to close that operation in Wilmington down and then just basically move everything to the Cincinnati airport. I think what they're doing now is phase 1 of 3. So by the time they're done with this whole thing, it's going to be apparently the Amazon airport, because it's just basically going to be all Amazon operation out of there.
Wow.
It's quite impressive that the size of that building. It's just unbelievable. And Jeff Bezos, he doesn't do anything small. So it's going to be interesting. As far as the hills on taxiways, well, it's one airport in particular comes to mind. That's Denver. Denver airport it's got this one taxiway from, I forget the runway that it comes off of, but the taxiway that takes you down to where the cargo facility is, it's a quite a steep slope heading down towards the cargo facility there. And obviously the idea is to try to keep the brakes as cool as possible. So what I do when that's the case is, you can do a number of things, right? You can do a number of things. One is
you taxi with the reverses out.
Well, I do
That's
that.
one way.
Exactly. You taxi.
Oh, Jeff probably could.
Oh, I do. I do that.
I did that a lot in the 7.2 with the center engine.
You just crack them open, and then obviously you just go to idle reverse, and that'll redirect some of that air forward. That keeps your brakes cool. You can do that, or you can taxi around with a just single engine, but you have to keep in mind that you have to give the engine enough time to cool down before you shut that engine off. But then also you have to keep in mind that if you're taxiing around single engine, you have to take into consideration how tight your parking arrangement is going to be. You don't want to have to.
She said.
Exactly. You don't want to have to run that engine past a certain power setting, because you might cause damage to things behind you. And so that's that. Coming out, obviously, it's not that big an issue because it's uphill. But in situations where you have down sloping taxiways on the way out, then obviously try to use as little brake as possible, because the idea here is to keep your brakes cool in case you have to reject your takeoff, because hot brakes are no good to helping you stop the airplane.
That would make me nervous. You said Denver.
Denver.
They're known
High
for
altitude.
having like snow and ice and stuff. That would make me nervous going downhill in a heavy airplane.
Yeah. So it just very, very, very slow. Just go very, very slow there. And
Actually,
like you said,
I'm sorry, I was going to say it's one of the things you kind of learn, isn't it? When your favorite airports, and if you get to one where there's a particular slope and a taxiway, you can warn your first officer, or you can take action yourself. I always think that's really nice bit of knowledge to have. But sadly, there's rarely anything on the plates to give us an indication.
On the on the Jeppesen plates, that's true. There's rarely anything there, but we have what are called the company pages, and a lot of the stuff is based on pilot input. In fact, all the stuff is based on pilot input. So little gotchas that you might be presented with, and
nice one.
Different airports.
Interesting they call it company pages, Rick, because that's what our company calls them. Didn't you say a lot of the folks in the training realm at Acme Giant are from Acme?
From Acme, a lot of them were.
They're
not around anymore, sadly, but a lot of them were. So
a lot regarding slopes. If you're in an airplane such as the 727 that is somewhat limited on its thrust capabilities, and you're taxiing out to runway 26 left in Atlanta, which is going slightly uphill, you are made aware quite quickly, especially on a hot summer day, that if you don't have at least two of the engines running, or maybe all three, you're going to have a tough time of it getting up to the other end of the runway, because it just takes extra power to do it. Not so much on the Mad Dogs. The Mad Dogs, comparatively speaking, thrust to weight ratio is much better. So never had an issue there.
Yeah, and usually for a lot of airlines, at least the two airlines that I've flown for, you are allowed to do a single engine taxi in, and the 747 you can even switch two engines out if you are below a certain weight, but you're not allowed to do a single engine taxi out. You have to have all your engines going prior to departure, and then if you find yourself in this in a situation where you might have to use crack the reversers on the way out. The problem with that is that, at least in Boeing airplanes, by logic, anytime you crack the reversers, that's going to wipe your takeoff information page off. So all your V speeds are going to go away. All the V speeds on your primary flight display are going to go away. So you're basically going to have to stop, set the brakes, reload everything, make sure that you make sure you did it right. So that's not usually a procedure we use on taxi out, only on taxi in. So
interesting. At Lagos, it was always a bit of a nightmare for us, because it has ups and downs. And you'll find yourself fighting to get up a hill, and then the next minute the airplane's running away with you. And they also
a little bit
have
of a roller coaster ride.
Exactly,
putting your hands out the window.
Huge soft spots, so there are big ruts, and you have to be really careful. It's very hard to judge where your wheels are, but if you're going a bit slow and drop your wheels in one of these, the airplane just grind to a halt, and then you're really, what the hell do I do now? Yeah. Luckily, there aren't that many important things to worry about blowing away, so you can usually crank the power on and hope no one notices that you're creating the world's worst dust storm behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other one I always found hard when you're coming in on reduced thrust is, say you've only got power on your right wing, and that's where your turn onto the gate is. You're turning right into, so you're turning into your live engine. There's nothing to help you push round the corner. And then a lot of the automated systems that we get, it'll share your aircraft type, and it'll be what rating, and then all of a sudden, halfway around the turn on, it'll go, wait, because it's lost the information. And we're
recalculating.
That happened to me. That happened to me. That happened to me
not
last
allowed.
time.
Yep, you're not allowed to go any further with a weight there. Well, our company used to go mad if you did. So we used to grind to all halfway around the turn. And now you've got the inside engine. And when it finally clears, it's so hard to get it. I've been times I've had to actually start up the other engine again just to get that last 100 feet.
Got to do what you got to do.
So close, yet so far away.
That's exactly what happened to me this last time. Coming into bay number 5, was it, or bay number 4 there at the Sydney airport? We're coming into making that last turn there, and but luckily I left both engines on. Because that parking apron's a little bit of an uphill, which I learned the hard way on the 7.4. I switched the engines off a little bit too early there, and we rolled back slightly.
You just have meant to do that.
Yeah, well, exactly. So this time I when I park in Sydney, I just leave everything on, and it's just like Nick said. The stupid thing goes. I saw it. It said B767. I was like, yep, that's me. Last time I checked, I go to make the turn, and just as I'm making the turn, I'm in about a 45 degree there, and the stupid thing says wait, and you have to stop.
Yeah,
because you don't know why it's telling you to wait. Because the way this thing works is that it apparently has a wide angle lens at the top of it, and it also, and if it sees anything that's infringing or any obstacle inside the protected box, then it's throw out a message letting you know that you can't go in there because the area is not protected. And since you can't see your wingtips, and with these things, with these types of parking devices or guide-in devices, you don't have wing walkers either. So if the thing tells you to wait, then you wait.
You got to think about those lawyers.
Exactly right. Think about the lawyers.
Frustrating.
But 9 times out of 10 it's because the guy just forgot to put another quarter in. So that's really what it is.
He's like searching around his pocket for. He's like,
anybody got a quarter?
And most of the time, the guy in charge of that box is not looking at you. And you're waving at him, going,
always very encouraging.
Get the bloody box working, and he's gazing off into the distance.
Yeah, but why is it taking them so long? Very careful. Be very, very careful.
I tell you, the flight is not over until you set the parking brake at the end. It's because it can all go south right at the very last turn when you're about to park.
Very true. Very true.
Well, it looks like it's about that time for us to do this week's installation of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Steph, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, I'm going to have to head out, I think, before Plain Tales is over. I'm going to sit here for a minute and listen to some of it at least. But I've got a retirement dinner to attend this evening for a coworker.
Have a good do.
Yeah, thanks. We'll do. And
enjoy.
I will catch you guys next week. So it's been great, as always.
Very good.
And see ya.
Cheers.
Bye, Steph. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Here we go. This week's Plain Tale.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Dr. Christmas and his bullet. There are many things that one might want to be remembered for. A fine physician, a pioneer aviator, a renowned aeronautical researcher, an inspired inventor, but perhaps not as the greatest charlatan ever to see his name associated with an airplane, even though his scout fighter, the Christmas Bullet, had a perfect kill record. It killed everyone who ever tried to fly it. William Whitney Christmas was born in North Carolina back in 1865, and he was lucky enough to be given an excellent education. Firstly at the St. John's Military Academy, and then the University of Virginia, where he obtained first his bachelor's and then his master's degree. He moved on to the George Washington University, where he became a Doctor of Medicine. So far, so good. The eminent Dr. Christmas had made a great start to his life. The early 1900s were an exciting time, particularly for anyone with an interest in technology and making money. A couple of guys who built bicycles had invented the world's first aeroplane and were sitting on a potential fortune. Surely, if they could do it, a doctor with a master's degree could do it much better and make a mountain of wealth. In 1908, Christmas, without a jot of experience in aircraft design or aeronautical work of any kind, started claiming that he had built and flown an aircraft of his own design, but sadly he couldn't show anyone as he destroyed the aircraft and all the evidence of it to protect the secret design. Later, he built a second aircraft called the Redbird, and later the Redbird II, which he flew and patented, despite it being a near exact copy of the Aerial Experimental Association Red Wing designed by Thomas Selfridge. He even stole part of the name. In the words of one historian, the eccentric Dr. Christmas was not above employing the ideas of others, and may well have patented another company's design. Nothing had been discovered to show that these machines were the result of Christmas's own work. He managed to persuade Creed Fulton, Lester MacLeod, and Thomas Buckley to back him, and together they founded the Christmas Aeroplane Company. Within a year, Fulton would sue his business partners for chicanery. Christmas asked the court to dismiss the suit, and the cause ended in October 1912. It was struck from the docket with the note, "It appearing to the court that there is nothing further to be done therein." Fulton and the others had advanced over $100,000 to Christmas and were left with nothing substantial. Fulton, Buckley, and MacLeod faded into history. For Christmas, however, the suit was only a minor blip in his larger-than-life story. Not to be discouraged, he continued to be a presence in airshows, shamelessly promoting himself despite his utter lack of engineering skills or evidence to support his wild claims. With the outbreak of the First World War, Christmas thought that he might have found the perfect opportunity to get back in the game. He wrote an article for the New York Times claiming that he had designed a wonderful new bomber dubbed the Battle Cruiser. He assured his readers that it would be the largest aircraft ever built and promised that it would be a revolutionary success. Manned by a crew of 6 and powered by a massive 1,600 horsepower engine, he claimed that European allies had already placed orders for 11 battle cruisers. Christmas only had 3 problems. He had no aircraft, no such engine, and no orders. As his idea to get the US government to fund his imaginary bomber vanished into mist, he did manage to persuade a pair of New York brokers, brothers Henry and Alfred McCary, to fund a new flying idea, a super pursuit plane called the Christmas Bullet. Together, the 3 men paid a visit to New York Senator James Wolcott Wadsworth, and then to the Continental Aircraft Company of Long Island, where Christmas began to spin a fantastic tale. Using his talent for persuasion, he managed to convince the management, including the brilliant engineer Vincent Bernelli, that his planned aircraft would be the key element in an audacious plot to kidnap Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany. He assured his astonished audience that his aircraft's supposedly incredible performance would allow it to penetrate German airspace, thus allowing America to kidnap the Emperor, forcing the Reich to capitulate. Perhaps fortuitously, the Germans surrendered before this insane plan could go ahead, but even so, Continental Aircraft started work on 2 designs for the Christmas Aeroplane Company. Continental's chief engineer Bernelli expressed major concerns about the bullet's wing design, but was overruled and only allowed to work on the fuselage. Bonelli's worries centered on the flexible wing design that Christmas claimed was the revolutionary component that would give the aircraft its unparalleled speed and maneuverability. Christmas claimed that struts and braces were unnecessary, and that this lack of support would allow the wings of the plane to flap like a bird. Using steel from sawmill blades, the wing spars were made in 2 sections, welded in the middle, and designed to flex upwards. Despite all indications that the lack of internal support and the presence of vulnerable welds at the critical point would prove fatal, Christmas insisted that this would actually increase the aircraft's safety. The rest of the construction materials were apparently scrounged from available wood and steel stock and not aircraft grade, said Bonelli. Using a prototype Liberty 6 engine on loan from the US military, likely given to Christmas on the insistence of Senator Wadsworth, the Army demanded that they be allowed to inspect the plane and that the engine must only be used for ground testing, conditions which Christmas promptly ignored. Bonelli told Christmas the upper wing must not be built as intended, but the inventor had insisted that it be made as he designed. This left a joint that you could have snapped over your knee, declared Bonelli. Christmas persisted, covering the wings with a burlap-like fabric that stretched where it should have shrunk, and then gave it numerous coats of acetate dope. According to Bonelli, the wings were so heavy that they had to be winched into place, and the tail assembly was considered too small for so heavy a plane. It was a death trap, Bonelli said, and then to his horror he discovered that Christmas and his aircraft company were planning on a test flight. Bonelli made his concerns known but was ignored, and so he resigned from the company in protest. The bullet's first test pilot was a man named Cuthbert Mills, a former Army aviator who was so proud of being selected as the test pilot for this supposed cutting-edge aircraft, invited his mother to watch him take the bullet on its first flight. Mrs. Mills could only watch in horror as the bullet's wing failed a few hundred feet in the air, leaving her son to spiral to his death over the property of one E.J. Jennings. The landing was hard and the unfortunate pilot burned to death. Utterly unrepentant, Christmas would cover up the incident and claim the test flight was a resounding success. In this, Christmas had a collaborator in the form of a writer, D.J. Villett, who penned an article for Popular Aviation, praising the bullet and claiming it was a great success. He wrote that, after the somewhat malicious predictions as to the ship's inability to fly at all were agreeably refuted, the first trial flight took place on December the 3rd. He went on to describe a fictitious event. The Christmas bullet took off after a very short run and showed a speed of 190 miles per hour. The aircraft was described as having inherent lateral stability and a climbing ability seemingly out of proportion to the power available. After claiming a further 4 successful test flights, the story reassured all by stating that the aircraft was inspected in the factory. Since no defects were determined, a further flight occurred where, apparently, the pilot received explicit instructions to take off and fly a large circle, which should have brought him back to his starting point. However, the unfortunate dead pilot had his reputation blackened when Villett insisted that instead Mills headed west, skimming over the treetops with a foot to spare, as was his wont, and flew out of sight. When they found the wreckage,
Despite first claiming that there were no eyewitnesses, Villette insisted that the pilot had executed a sharp turn in a small clearing and struck the trees, planting the blame firmly into the dead pilot's lap. Vincent Benelli, who stayed in touch with the project, gave a very different account. Several pilots, he asserted, refused to fly the bullet before Mills agreed to do so. On his first try, the wings fell off and it crashed, killing him. At least I figured, wrote Benelli, that this would be the end of the Christmas bullet. But I underestimated the dock. Despite the crash, Christmas placed an ad in Flying magazine stating that the Christmas bullet achieved 197-mile-an-hour top speed, demonstrated in front of Colonel Harmon at Central Park, Long Island. I might point out that at the time the official world speed record was only 126 miles an hour. Having wrecked the borrowed engine, Christmas managed to acquire another from the Army, and then spent months parading the unflown second bullet around Madison Square Gardens and the New York Air Show, claiming it to be the safest, easiest plane in the world, whilst shamelessly promoting his contraption to the media. Flight magazine noted that it would seem that the design and construction of the aircraft would result in a low factor of safety, but reassured readers that the designer claims a safety factor of 7 throughout. No mention was made of the unfortunate Mills. A month later, Christmas was ready to try and fly the bullet again. The next test pilot was a man by the name of Arlington Jolly, a decorated war veteran who served with distinction in the French Air Force. Shortly after taking off, Jolly lost control of the aircraft, which plummeted into a barn, killing him instantly. This incident was also quietly ignored, and Christmas and the McCrory brothers would subsequently appear in an issue of Vanity Fair, promoting the bullet's flawless safety record. But without an aircraft to show the Army, the Christmas Airplane Company withdrew their design from consideration before an assessment could be attempted. Despite getting away with it all so far, Christmas must have realized that he couldn't keep killing people. Further production and testing of the bullet was halted, although he continued trying to sell the bullet to the military. During a testimony to the House Select Committee on Expenditures in the War Department, he claimed it had dramatically outperformed contemporary British and French fighters. Christmas insisted to Congress that he had photographic evidence of several successful test flights, but the negatives were hidden or destroyed by the government as part of a malevolent conspiracy against him. Employing his gift of charm one last time, he was able to sell his 1921 patent, incorporating his revised wing designs, to the U.S. Army for $100,000. In another version of the story, he maintained that the U.S. Army had given him the money to avoid a copyright infringement suit. But by 1923, and to the relief of those early test pilots, he'd called it quits. Christmas continued to campaign for more funding for further projects, seeking out private and government sources, claiming hundreds of patents or patent submissions based on his aeronautical research. He never stopped making outrageous claims, insisting that Germany had offered him $1 million to rebuild their air force, and that he had invented the aileron, yet somehow never seemed to lose any credibility for it. In reality, the concept of the aileron was first patented in 1868 by British scientist Matthew Piers Watt Boulton, although its development can also be credited to many notables such as Octave Chanute, John Montgomery, Richard Pierce, Alberto Santos Dumont, Frederick Baldwin, Henry Farman, Louis Blériot, and many others, all of whom have a prior claim to Christmas. However, it seems that the George Washington University continues to promote the myth, crediting him with designing the first plane equipped with ailerons. No one tells this story better than William Christmas himself. Writing to the U.S. Air Force's General Charles Spatz in 1947, Christmas laid out his credentials. My discoveries and inventions has made the aviation industry what it is today. He claimed sole credit for the aileron, the most important invention in aviation, among 400 other inventions. After declaring that the present design of planes is all wrong, he finally got to his request, which was to be commissioned by the Air Force to design the fastest plane in the world. His justification was that he'd done it before, in 1918 with the Christmas bullet. That's what stands out as the most unbelievable part of the Christmas bullet story. After misleading a senator, misappropriating an engine from the US Army, manipulating a major aircraft corporation, killing 2 men, and swindling the government out of a large sum of money, Christmas suffered no repercussions whatsoever and continued to live a life of wealth and success. He would end up as the vice president of the General Development Corporation, a Miami-based real estate company that would crumble under the weight of thousands of lawsuits, criminal fraud charges, and finally bankruptcy pleadings. By the time that happened, Dr. William W. Christmas, described by historians as a conman and a psychopath, and more generously by the Smithsonian Institute as a pioneer in aeronautical research, would have passed away. His lasting legacy, though, was to build what is considered by many experts in the field to be the worst aircraft ever constructed.
What a guy.
That is quite the legacy, huh?
You're muted, Nick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. Yes, you're quite right. That was quite a legacy. I don't know quite what to say about him. But, yeah, he certainly he could certainly talk a good airplane. That's for sure. He must have
been able to, because so many people believed the guy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a good answer. I have to say that when I read all the reports, I thought, I wonder if this is someone's trying to spin a yarn here. But the more I read, I was going, okay, well, this does really seem to be genuine. But what can you do? The article that was published about the bullet goes on to expound on Christmas's theories of flight. And he was proposing that flight could be achieved by an airplane with wings like birds, and that it was static electricity charges within the feathers that created the lift. And it really, the more I read it, the more I went, what is this guy on? But it was just written in such ludicrous language, semi-scientific. And I'm just going, no, I can't possibly.
Are we sure that it's not a fake story?
Yeah, well, I'm not absolutely convinced. But having said that, I've seen enough lists of the world's worst airplanes, and his is always included to make me believe it's true.
I mean, obviously, it didn't have a conscience,
no,
a
that
couple
too.
of pilots.
No, he didn't really care much about what he did.
Yeah.
No,
He just
there you go.
he was just after that after that almighty dollar there. But
oh, that's right. But you do wonder. The guy obviously wasn't lacking intelligence. He got a master.
Clearly not. Clearly not.
Why he couldn't just make his way as a successful physician, I don't know. But there you go.
Too boring, obviously.
Wow, that was another fantastic one, Nixter.
Oh,
yes, thanks. Nice job. Merry Christmas to everyone. And a happy bullet.
Perhaps I should have saved it till Christmas.
Yeah, really. Could have been a Christmas story.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have less than 30 minutes remaining, or fewer than 30 minutes remaining in the show. So let's move on with the feedback, if you guys don't mind.
No, sure,
and
definitely.
I think per suggestion from the producer-director, I think we're going to go to, what is it, Liz, 11? Okay. All right. This is a good one. Dave sent this in from the UK. And he says, take that, Qantas. Just to show us Brits do it best. The finest at RAF Luton did this. And there's a Twitter account, RAF Luton. And there is no such thing as a RAF base at Luton, is there?
No.
Okay. So,
it's a
but it looks
spoof account.
It really looks very official, and it starts off by saying, breaking, to celebrate the last flight of the 747 and to show Qantas how it should be done, and to show British Airways what they should have done. We sent up a Eurovision Typhoon to draw a giant jumbo, Eurovision Typhoon to draw a giant jumbo jet over the UK. And no, I have to share this. Okay, so let me, share screen, because this is, I think everybody's going to get a kick out of this one. It's a very impressive flight doodle. Very intricate. Pretty amazing,
those
actually.
Typhoons must have been
three-dimensional.
Really working hard.
Amazing.
So there we go. There's the tweet. Wow, look at the detail in that 740. Wait a minute. That's not a 740. Yeah, how did they do the windows?
I don't know. I was going to point that out. That's my favorite bit of it.
Well, they come vertically.
Individual
they come
windows.
vertically up and down, don't they?
Yeah, that must be it. Or very, very tight, 11G turns.
Yeah, little spirals. Yeah.
It was funny to the people commenting. It's a fake. It's like, duh. And other people are like thinking this is real. It's so fun.
It is. The RF Luton account, and they're just hilarious. Whoever is behind all this, they are always misnaming airplanes, and the thousands of enthusiasts that get storming in there, but they do it all the time to everything, and it's so clear to everyone else that this is a joke. But now
here's another tweet.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
So we were most disappointed that the last flight of the 747 was not celebrated, that we sent up one of our stealth bombers to draw a giant 747 using its flight tracker. There's absolutely nothing there.
That was the
stealth bomber.
That was the best one.
And here's some information about RAF Luton. The assumed official Twitter account of the world's most mysterious and secret and fictitious military base. So they even say it in the description of their account. That's funny.
Yeah. I like the little panda on the insignia there.
Yes, panda with wings.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. I think it was Dave Lakeland. I also threw in at the bottom of this in our show notes a beautiful picture of a Starlifter heading off into the sunset.
That is pretty, isn't it?
With a bunch of chemicals trailing.
Yes, some heavy chemtrail in there.
Yep, very heavy chemtrail.
Turned on the orange ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was Agent Orange.
It could be, and perfect conditions to get away with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
blends right on in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you, Dave. This was sent in by Captain Peter. The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen. It was with a tear in my eye and a lump in my throat that I listened to the various eulogies regarding the demise of our queen. Now we're talking about, of course, the queen of aviation, the queen of the skies, the 747, not the actual real queen in London. Anyway, many a subject have followed her to be with her and also discover a world that they had not dreamed of, where never lark or eagle flew. I have news from the royal court, dear friends. The queen lives on. She has decided in the fullness of time not to allow her subjects to self-load dressed as riffraff. However, must be presented to her on a plate or pallet, dressed preferably in cardboard chic. People may still see her, however only from afar, dreaming of another time. Some may call this aloofness. I call this majesty. And now, for something completely different, one more thing. As a one turtlenecked chap once said, good old Steve Jobs, a few episodes back, PARs were mentioned. It brought back a memory of a different era, which may tickle your interest. However, I do ask that once used, you forward on to the publishers of that wonderful aviation tome of knowledge, quote, Humorous PARs of the 1980s, Volume 3, the unabridged version. I can't wait to read the next edition. Well, don't think I've ever read that particular aviation tome of knowledge. I'll have to look for that one. Maybe, it probably should be in the APG library.
Yeah, it should be.
It probably should, but you might have trouble finding one.
Yeah, well, we can find it if it's out there. A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far... No, wrong story. I digress. I was a young FO Sprague, fairly new in the company, flying on the 747 Classic with one of my favorite captains of the time, Captain, shall we say, Tommy. Now, Captain Tommy and I... Oh, and I must mention the flight engineer, so no one is...
Are we referring to Elton John's Tommy from the Who opera?
I'm not sure to whom he's referring.
Because that would have been the deaf, dumb, and blind kid.
Oh, could be
Tommy in that song.
Well, let's see. Let's go on with the story and see if maybe that is the one he's referring to. All right. So now Captain Tommy and I must mention the flight engineer, so no one is left out, are flying back to our home base on a lovely clear day. The ATC controllers would occasionally ask the home-based crews to carry out a practice PAR for their currency, and this day we were the anointed crew. Nowadays we would have to say no, strictly verboten. However, as I said, this was another era, so we said yes, of course. Now, Captain Tommy was a studious type, and decided that if we were to do this, well, 'twere best be done properly. So, being vectored onto the final course, he lowered his seat and moved forward into position, head down, and we were handed off to the PAR controller. Let the fun begin. Left 3 degrees, slightly high. Right 2 degrees. The drone went on, and Captain Tommy flew the airplane as if it were on rails. The controller was superb as well. It was a pleasure to watch. Approaching PAR minima, we were perfectly in the slot. The PAR controller called minima, cleared to land, and Captain Tommy looked up to see the full underside of the glare shield fairing. Did I mention that Captain Tommy had one slight disadvantage, that of being vertically challenged? As you can imagine, after a few choice words, not for public consumption, there was an expeditious, "You have control," call as he struggled to raise his seat to at least see part of the flare. It was one of those approaches you'll never forget, in a good way. As an aside, when last I wrote, I was in limbo waiting to see if I was to change fleets, with my current steed operating at 3% of normal operations. Not a happy place to be. I'm now in the simulator phase of my 747 conversion, my 5th full 747 conversion of various marks. I will end my career making a full circle back to the beginning, back with the Queen. See previous. I implore all listeners, keep buying that rubber dog poo in bulk. I'll be carrying 120,000 kilograms of it. Deep in the poo, you might say. Always. Blue side up. And this is again from Captain Peter. That was very well written, very nice. Well done, very funny.
Good job.
So just to remind everybody that hasn't, new aviators probably have no idea what a PAR approach is, right? Precision Approach Radar, I believe that's what the PAR stands for.
PAR.
Yeah.
And it's very a very specific type of radar that is aimed in a very tight sweep that they can react to and see very, very slight changes in an aircraft's course. And they also have a radar that's doing the same kind of a very tight scan in a vertical position. And so you can see the glide slope. So, it's like an instrument landing system, an ILS approach, except that there are no electronic beams. They are, here we go. Let's see, I'll try to do the up and down and side to side. That is exactly what it looks like. You'll have to look at the video. I'm using my hands, of course, to describe. And anyway, a good PAR controller is worth his or her weight in gold because they can get you right down to exactly where you need to be. Hopefully that the weather conditions are appropriate to see the runway and land.
Yeah, it had a 200-foot break off normally.
Yep, same as a ILS approach usually.
And in wartime, if the conditions were that bad, you get the SATCO on, and I bet you he could talk you down under the tarmac.
Probably could. Yep. Probably go, okay, slight flare. Okay, touchdown.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we are.
I've never flown one in real life, but I've done them a couple of times in the sim, and at least the way I've done them is you're on autopilot the whole way because the changes are so minute that if it's I don't know, I guess you could, but how do you steer a single degree to the right and a single degree to the left, or reduce your rate of descent by 100 feet or so? So it's no way of doing that unless you're actually doing it through the autopilot.
Well, there was a famous joke around the Air Force when I was in about exactly that, Rick. And this pilot was having a go at his controller, saying, "I can't possibly fly to 1 degree heading changes. Give me something decent." So the controller said, "All right, turn left 5 degrees." And he said, "Oh, that's much better." He said, "Now turn right 4 degrees."
Very nice. Very nice. I like it.
Now, you say whether you're hand flying or autopilot. Well, I've only flown a PAR approach in an airplane that does not have an autopilot.
Yeah,
wow.
we in the Phantom, we used to fly our ILSs and PARs. Of course, it had no autopilot. So
T-38s, T-37 and T-38 I was flying. And they were actually giving us 1 or 2 degree heading changes. And just you thought about it. And then the airplane.
Give it a slight nudge.
You just look that way, and the airplane just kind of
exactly.
Yeah, sometimes just lent on the rudder a tad.
Exactly right.
All right, well, very good. Thanks again, Captain Peter. Moving on to 5. Tony Fletcher sent this in. He says, "Hey Jeff, hope this note finds you well. Just wanted to say that Colin passed his check ride yesterday. Another flying Fletcher." And we got to put up That's
very apt, actually. Doesn't a Fletcher make the back of the arrow for people who shoot arrows?
Well, I have no idea.
Fletcher puts the feathers on the back.
Oh, really? Is that that's what a Fletcher is?
Yeah,
a profession. That's what Liz is saying. Okay.
And an arrow flies, so that's very apt. You got a flying Fletcher.
Nice. There's a photo of the young Fletcher.
Good job.
And good job. Oh, yeah, we should play the applause and congratulate him for
definitely,
absolutely
passing his check ride. That's awesome. By the way, I believe this is the one who took that beautiful picture of the Mad Dog leaving. Leaving Washington.
By the way, I could read that little bit of paper that he's holding there.
Can you?
You know what it says?
No, what does it say?
It says, "The nose wheel looked like this before I took off."
I swear.
Yes.
That's great. Congratulations, Colin. And 6. Okay. Steve Allen sent us some audio feedback. Let's listen.
Greetings, APG crew. Steve Allen here from Madison, Wisconsin. I hope you all and your loved ones are safe and well during these strange and trying times. I've had the highest status on Acme for several years now, and I normally take 20 or more business trips per year. Most of the United States, but also several countries in Europe, and the occasional trip to Australia and Singapore. Since COVID broke, I've had 10 trips canceled, including to Melbourne and Amsterdam. This is now by far the longest stretch of no travel for me in 15 years. I'm excited that I'm finally traveling in a couple of weeks, on Acme, of course, flying out to Salt Lake to meet my new grandson. Probably no business travel for the rest of the year, though. Captain Jeff, it sounds like you and I were at Travis Air Force Base at about the same time. I did my pediatric residency at David Grant USAF Medical Center from 1987 to 1990. Then the Air Force sent me to Minot, North Dakota to pay Uncle Sam back for putting me through medical school. As people assigned there want to say, why not Minot? Freezing's the reason. It's the coldest I've ever been. The sign on the main gate says, only the best come north. I got invited to sit in the jump seat of a KC-135 returning from a medevac flight shortly before I finished my assignment there because I was the pilot's kid's pediatrician. It was quite an experience. I was rather surprised how late it seemed that they lined up on the runway during the approach. I recently discovered your great podcast, and I've been enjoying catching up. I recently listened to you discuss aviation movies. There's one that you didn't mention that I highly recommend. It's Strategic Air Command from 1955, starring James Stewart and June Allison. They even got a cigar-chomping look-alike in Frank Lovejoy to play a version of Old Iron Pants. As a proud former member of SAC, I really enjoyed the movie, even though it was a bit corny in that earnest 1950s way. It's in Technicolor, and the B-36 and B-47 flying sequences are spectacular. The B-36 is an amazing plane, and this color footage shot with extensive Air Force cooperation is hard to beat. I got to see the B-36 at the Air Force Museum at Wright-Patterson a number of years ago. It's huge. I hope you got to see it among the many amazing planes they have there while you visited last summer. Stay safe.
Well, Steve, we did. We saw that B-36 there.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely one of the exhibits I was determined to see, having done a play tale about it. When you guys dropped a nuke on the Canadians, which I think upset
Hey, let's don't talk about that again. Mistakes happen. Come on. Could happen to anybody.
Well, they call it a peacemaker. So.
That's right.
And I believe you
have a piece of this.
And we talked about the movie that he's talking about, Strategic Air Command, I think, when we were...
We did, yeah. It's a great movie. I mean, you don't have to worry too much. He's a baseball player or something, isn't he? And anyway, it is a good movie. But the flying sequences, they're just unbelievable. They don't necessarily mix it with the plot very well, but there's some brilliant photography. I love seeing those old aircrafts.
Just like the flying sequences in... Top Gun really don't have anything to do with the plot of the movie.
Hopefully they'll be better on the new Top Gun. Can't wait.
But who cares? It's just fun to see airplanes flying around. All right. And I was close, Stephen. I was at Travis between 1983 and 85. And if you were there 87 on, we just miss each other by a couple of years. Anywho. Let's move to, I believe, what we say, 8? Yeah, 8. So we were talking about the, now I have to really think about how to pronounce this, Alcan Highway, or actually the town of Alcan. And, well, here, let me just let Yukon or Morgan tell you about this.
Hey, APG crew, it is Morgan. From the Great White North, all the way up in the Yukon Territory, and don't let anyone tell you differently, it is the Yukon. So on to the pronunciation of A-L-K-A-N. It is in fact Alcan. Made me laugh listening to the way Jeff pronounced it 2 different ways. I
was covering my bases.
Never heard it pronounced Alcan. Kind of made me think of Vulcan. Anyway, it comes from the Alcan Highway, or the Alaska-Canada Highway, now the Alaska Highway. And the Alaska Highway's got a really interesting history, from its speedy construction back during the Second World War to being handed over to the Canadian military, to then being handed over to the government, or I guess the civilian side of things. Unfortunately, you can't drive the highway as it was today. It has been rebuilt into a safer, straighter highway. Although if you ever get the chance, and I highly recommend driving it at least once, you can still see remnants of the old highway intersecting and stuff. And there is still sections of it that are still used, but it is an absolutely beautiful drive. And if you ever make it all the way up to the Yukon, just reach out to me and I'll bring you guys around to some of the local breweries and try some local IPAs. Well, I'll leave you with that for now. And so, blue skies and tailwinds, and happy podcasting.
Well, thank you, Morgan, the Yukoner. Is the Yukon Territory, is that like the Ohio State University? I guess. Sounds very similar.
The one and only.
Yeah. So I think that Nick and I should load up, or anybody else that wants to go, into an RV, and we can head up toward Alkane.
Yes, I think we should. Don't they have some interesting events up there? Dog sledding races or something?
I think it's up in Juneau, actually. But I think Juneau is one of those places where you can't get to except for air and sea, right? Plane and boat.
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't think that that's all on the Alcan Highway, actually.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, but we could take a little detour.
Yeah.
All right.
I run the you can do the Iditarod up there.
There you go. How do you spell that?
I have no idea, but I know it starts in downtown Anchorage. There
starts with an I.
Yeah, starts with an I. Ends with a D.
We got it. Nailed it. Oh man. All right. Oh, we can do one more. Our director's telling me. Okay. I thought we were finished here. Okay. All right. So several people sent this in. A lot of folks these days are retiring, and the airline that's very similar to the one that I fly for had a couple of pilots that retired at the same day, the same moment in time, and they're married to each other. They're named Joe and Margaret, and let's see, Jeffrey sent this in, and let me read this here. This is really adorable, and I'm kind of sad I didn't know about this couple until their retirement flight. We've sometimes seen airlines highlight how multiple generations are working at an airline, how a parent and child may be working together on a flight for the first time. And by the way, I believe this is the writer is from the 1 Mile at a Time blog, 1mileataTime.com. But up until now, I haven't heard of this couple, Joe and Margaret, as both fly the Airbus A330 for Delta Airlines. They share their adventures through Instagram, the Flying Fahans. And this past week, they finally retired. Joe had been at Delta for 36 and a half years, while Margaret had been at Delta for 35 years. So that's a combined 71 and a half years of service at the airline. Wow. Here's a video they uploaded as they started their very last trip from New York to Milan. Okay, what I did was, in the article, they have a couple of different videos here, but this is the one I thought was most touching. The video that they uploaded upon completing their last flight, having arrived back in New York. This was emotional for them as they got a surprise water cannon salute. And so I picked up some of the audio from this video. Again, this will all be in the show notes. You can watch all the videos, and including the entirety of this video that I'm going to play a little audio excerpt from. And this is going to start from the point where they're doing the shutdown checklist, the last one that either of them will do in their lives as airline pilots.
All right, shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Park and brake.
Set.
Seatbelt sign.
Off.
Beacon.
Off.
Engine annex.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Engine master sensors.
Off.
Transponder.
Stand by.
Shutdown checklist. complete.
Chocks are in, brakes are off. Well, the flight's over. Shutdown checklist is over. The jobs are over. They gave us I'm not crying, you're crying. They surprised us with the water salute after all as we came into the gate, and that's where I lost it. So, bit of advice for all you young aviators out there. The plane you fly is going to be cool, but it's the experiences you have on layovers and the places you go and the people you meet and the friends you make that makes all the difference in the world. And if you have half the career we had, you're going to love it. So thanks everybody for all the well wishes. I got inundated with pictures and messages today. It was kind of crazy. And Margaret's going to help me through it here.
Hey, Joe. I got nothing
Give her
to
a
add.
kiss. There you go. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jason, for
I'm
coming
more
with
than
us.
welcome. Yep.
Yeah.
That it? Yeah. So, very touching moment. That
And-
probably brought back memories, Nick.
If only I'd realised it was going to be my last flight.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably the best way to do it, right? Not knowing that that's your very last shutdown
That's very true,
checklist.
because I happen to think there's an awful lot of pressure on you in your last flight.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you got friends and family try and get on board, and you've got to think of clever PAs to make. And no, I was quite happy to drift away.
And your last landing, make sure it's a nice and smooth one. And
Exactly, and I know
Yeah,
how
lots of
hard
pressure.
that can be. So there you go.
Yep.
But
Anyway.
congratulations to these two. What a wonderful pair of people.
Absolutely.
They probably got houses all over America and places to go in the winter, places to go in the summer. They've got
They're probably going to
boats
do
and-
okay.
Yeah, I don't
they'll
think
be
they're
fine.
going to have any problems in their retirement.
No, I guarantee they will not. All right. Excellent. So, Jeffrey, thank you for sending that in. And all of you for sending in feedback to the show. You can do that by sending it to our email address, feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. We have a lot of great information on our website, airlinepilotguy.com. We have information about our crew and the community and merchandise. We have a Plain Tales page with all kinds of extra information regarding the wonderful Plain Tales that Nick produces every week. Let's see. We have the APG library. We've mentioned that at least a couple of times on this show. Our librarian, Tiffany, manages all that for us. And information about how to join the coffee fund and a calendar. Not a lot on the calendar lately, except it shows when we're planning on doing our next show and the time and such. So it's worth looking at just for that. And then one of these days when I start flying again, I'll put my schedule on there and you can have an idea of what's going on with us. And we're on social media as well. So, Nick, you want to tell them about social media? Social media?
God, I haven't done this for a while. Okay.
I looked up and I went, I panicked. Oh, no, Steph's not here.
I'm sure we should give this one to Rick. On Twitter, we are under the handle at APG Crew. And on Facebook, it's Airline Pilot Guy. So just hunt for those. I'm sure you find it. Oh, there you go. Oh, and Instagram, same as Twitter.
Yep, on Instagram as well. And we're also on Slack. Let's see, pull up, see if we can... Hey, Hillel! Hillel! It's Slack time, man.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
I always hate bothering him like that. Let's give him a little
Is he
few
going to
moments
put
here.
a towel on this time?
I hope so.
Robe on?
Make sure you use a towel this time.
I don't want to see him again like that. It's just...
Okay. Here we go.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo at airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you very much, Hillel, and please make sure you put another towel on. That one you have right now is just not covering everything.
Jeff,
that's not a towel. That's
try these towels.
I know. That's what we just said.
It's not a towel. That's a face cloth.
Oh, well, with that, thank you everyone for joining us today on the live show, and also those of you listening to our recordings and downloading them and all that such thing. Thank you very much for all of that. And, we can't go without thanking our producer-director, Liz, in Toronto, Ontario, California, Canada. Yeah, I know, Liz. I know it's Canada. So thank you very much for all your help behind the scenes and all the wonderful things that you say in my ear. They're not all wonderful. And until next time, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
We'll see you all next time. Please take care.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, Liz, we can't say that. Good thing that they can't hear you.
All right, show titles, everybody.
Show titles.
Anyone got any ideas? There was something happened right at the beginning, and I wish I'd written it down, but I didn't. What were we having a laugh about right in the beginning?
I guess we can go back to, was it during the news segment?
It was while we were having trouble getting things going, bit of a train wreck or something. I think
it's off the rails, something like that.
Train wreck.
I remember.
It depends whether you're going to include it or not. The train wreck, that is.
Anything
Christmas.
Else? Oh yeah, that was Christmas in August.
Christmas in August. Yeah, that's not bad.
Santa comes in August. Liz is saying.
Santa comes in August. That's a bit rude, isn't it?
Okay. Oh no, Liz. Well, you guys can't hear it, Liz, can you?
No.
No. Rick resting in the restroom.
I would, Neil, Mike, I would do something about the balloon, but sadly, when you've got a fatality, I tend not to. Yeah.
Oh, hang on, Liz. I think there's a way for me to pipe your audio in at least, so you're not. Wait a minute. Where are you? Okay, try that. See if they can hear you.
What about the horror of a go-around?
They can hear it. The horror of a go-around.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility.
That's as big as I can make it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
As big as I
could get a 747 into that.
How can I make it larger?
And the last one is how to drive a plane up and down a hill.
All right. Driving a plane up and down a hill. How to drive a plane up and down a hill. Okay. Anybody else? Let's see. That must be, is that Matt or Carlos from Plane Talking
It's
UK?
John.
You never know. It could be.
It's the producer. Okay. John.
Ah.
He's saying, nice to hear your voice, Liz.
Thanks, John.
That's why Santa doesn't have any children. Because, yeah, that's not the right place.
Santa lands in August.
Santa lands in August. Yeah.
I mean, I do think something Christmas themed because, we had that Seneca landing on the roof.
Yeah.
And then we had Dr. Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was kind of a little miniature theme.
It was a little. Yeah.
I could do that.
You could work with that?
I can
like a crashed airplane on a roof with Santa Claus holding his bag of toys?
Several. I could have going up a hill in a plane. I can have somebody making it as big as I can. Christmas in August. I'm not sure I can make it look August. I don't know what August looks like. What does August look like?
Hot and dry and brown.
Thunderstorms.
Thunderstorms. Yeah.
So it sounds like a cigarette.
Yes, it does. So it feels
I
like
could
it
also
sometimes.
include a train wreck in there. I could make multiple titles.
Well, let's not get too complicated. But what we usually do is when you have the creative, whatever, inspiration and come up with a great piece of artwork, then we come up with a title looking at the
That's
artwork.
true. But it usually depends very much on what I can find
Yeah.
in the way of art, base pictures.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Well, that's something to work with.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today, and hope to see you again next time we do this, which will be most likely sometime next week. I don't know. I noticed that there was some little bit of talking about it behind the scenes. We haven't really nailed it down yet, though, have we?
No.
Liz?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
All right. Well, we're gonna have a little discussion after we stop the broadcast, and hopefully we'll come up with that, and you can find whenever we are planning on recording next week on the APG community calendar.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
See y'all.
Bye.